Hello, hello. I don't know if anybody can hear me. We're not starting yet. We still got about 18 minutes. Everything's about ready, but I just got get a couple other things lined up, and then you'll see my beautiful mug, and we will be live. And yes, we got a VEX kit to build here. We're talking about the remaining BattleBots fights in the regular season. We'll at least touch over all these remaining fights. You know, matchups like Black Dragon versus Beta, Banshee versus Blip, Witch Doctor Minotaur, Lockjaw, Mad Catter. We're talking about all of that. Mad Catter, Big Dill. So stay tuned. We'll be live shortly. All right. Let's see where we're at here. 7:02 p.m. I don't know if there's anyone here right now, but we're going to go ahead and get rolling anyway. Even if this is mostly just talking to myself, I kind of know what I'm about to say here, right? Done this long enough. Okay. We'll do the whole intro bit here. Now, going about building this, I've been calling it a VEX kit. Now I'm looking at it. It is a Hexbug VEX kit. So there is like an A and B here. Excellent. We're about to go to cut to me. I think I'm about ready now. And we're decently on time, which is good. All right. We're also going to start recording here because this is going to be... Ignore the King of Draft logo. I fucking forgot to change that. Quick access. There we go. Not the most legible. I should have done the other fonts. Oh well, it's too late now, right? Hello everybody, and welcome to a Combot Collective live stream, bringing everything you guys want to know from the world of robot combat, from the heavyweight class to the flyweight class, and of course, everything you want to know about the 2022 Battlebots World Championship 7th season, and that's what we're mostly here to talk about today. Unfortunately, we haven't done any prediction videos like we did for the 2021 season on this channel. I just haven't had the time to do it this year, but we have been doing the breakdown videos. I've been pretty happy with how they came out. I hope everyone enjoyed the episode 6 and episode 7 breakdown video that we did. Played a little bit of catch up there. And it kind of taught me how to, not add so many details to these videos when I do them. Right now, a big thing for me has been trying to cut off on the runtime for these videos. I know no one wants to look at my fucking face for 35 minutes. I barely want to look at my face for 35 minutes. So, trying to change it there, trying to make the videos more concise, but if you're here already, or if you're watching this as a VOD, or whatever you're doing, thank you for showing up. Here's what we're doing. Of course, we're building this. What is this? It's not a Battlebots kit. I do have Battlebots kits, but I haven't done one of these little kits in forever. And personal story, this Minotaur kit that's been sitting out of the background of these videos since day one. I got it in 2018. I tried building it the following day, and I messed up something really badly. Like, when I was assembling Minotaur, it was like built like this. I might have been under the influence of something. I'm not going to say anything, but it wasn't built right, and I just sort of looked at it, and I was like, I'm not good at these things, am I? But I built a couple Lego sets since then. Built a couple, like those, that bonsai tree and that money tree. They're in my living room. So maybe I'm good. Maybe I'm good at this stuff now. We'll see here. Let us go to our main overlay. Is this the one? Well, I thought I had a chat thingy. Oh God, remember that? No, okay. I had a chat capture earlier. I don't know what happened to it. Technical difficulties. It's very cool. Ah! There we go. Great. I wonder how long I'm going to be staring at my own message. I digress. Let me fix that. Pull this down. And we'll have that over here. And this is what we're mostly going to be looking at today. This is, of course, the Battlebots schedule. Let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. I don't want to zoom out too much because I know it's probably going to be a 480p stream, and I don't think y'all care to see a 480p stream. So let's see what I can do here. Uh-oh. Nope, this layer. Great start. Okay. Boom. Perfect. It's all right. Technical kinks getting it all worked out, and then we'll get rolling here. I got my drink ready. We're going to dump out this kit and get the ball rolling here. Hope you guys are all doing fantastic tonight. I've had a pretty decent day. I was oddly nervous about the stream. I think I said that on the TCC Discord. Oddly nervous about the stream. I always get nervous about live streams just because I know people are like watching me live, whether it be one person or 10 people. I know barely anyone's going to be watching this damn thing. But, see, I get panicked because I lose my train of thought like that. But yeah, I got nervous. And then the other half of me was like, I'm literally talking about Battlebots. Obviously, I must like Battlebots quite a bit. And building some goofy ass VEX kit. Why am I nervous? But I don't know. It just comes with live streaming, I guess. But like I said, I hope you guys are all doing fantastic tonight. We're going to be jumping into some second half Battlebot season predictions here in just a moment. I just realized I still only have 3 robots on screen. I guess it's going to have to be one more smaller. And that's just barely. Wish we could like cut out the first 2 regular season robots, but that will at least let us get the gist right. I mean, we all know what the robot is. Y'all can see the schedule. Well, there we go. What even is this anyway? What we're building here today? I mean, I know what it is. I bought it, but here we go. Or it was gifted to me actually. Crossbow launcher. There we go. Maybe I'll take out the camera to end the stream. That'd be some crazy shit. But watch myself here. I'm not used to being live. This is interesting. But here we go. VEX Robotics crossbow kit. Build the crossbow from over 200 VEX Robotics pieces. Oh boy, I didn't know it was 200. I honestly thought it was a bit less than that, but here we go. I wish I had brought my box cutter with me. I didn't, or my house knife, one of them, but nope, we're just doing this the old-fashioned way. Still just going to let everyone file in here before we start talking about the second half of the regular season here. Now, let me scroll up here. It's probably not the most visible, since it's a 480p stream probably. But like I said, you all know where the battlebots.com/schedule thingy is. So you can follow along if you like. If you don't know the schedule off the top of your head like some of us losers do. Man, they really packaged this well. They wanted to make sure no kids were going to get into this thing. I'm almost there. Boom. Spooky. Got my dog just hanging out here. Bill, big chilling. Mike falling over already. And yeah, this is going to be interesting to do with a giant mic in front of me. I should also get this out of the way. And I need to get into the good habit of bringing it up a couple times in this video. You'll see it at the end of our bottom ticker roll. And of course, shout out to the bottom ticker that we have here, running over all the fights that we're going to be talking about in this little live stream. But as always, the Combot Collective is sponsored by robotsrumylife.com for all the 2022-2023 Battlebots World Championship 7th season. They are our giveaway sponsors. We've already done 2 giveaways. People in the Windy City and in my home state, the Lone Star State here, have won these giveaways. And they're going to be shipped out hopefully before the end of the month. Had some money issues in the middle of the month, so I couldn't get them out as soon as I would have liked, but they will be out hopefully within the next couple of weeks. I do apologize for the delay there. Our third giveaway will begin during our next Jesus Christ. Our third giveaway will begin during our next rundown video for episode 8. We've already started working on the script. It should hopefully be out Wednesday, maybe Tuesday if I'm lucky, but expect the usual Wednesday slot. Hopefully not Thursday. I hate it when the videos come out Thursday because half the people who watch it on Discovery have already seen it. So it's like, what's this all about? We're already behind, dude. But here we go. VEX Robotics Crossbow. Hopefully we have some people filed in here. This is a lot. Very interesting. Yeah, count before you connect. You got all your pieces. A lot of pieces here. And here we go. Oh, man. I hope this is all in bag 1. It's like a Lego set, and it's all in this one piece set here at first. We'll see. But without further ado, I guess we should go ahead and jump into this regular season schedule. We got 50 plus robots to talk about. We'll try to dabble in with the alternates, and if anyone talks in the chat, oh man, see, this is why I didn't have a chat in the first few streams, because I was like, oh, no one's gonna say anything, and then they were actually kind of active, and now I don't have a chat. Hopefully, some people will pop in and say some stuff and say hello. I'm down for any questions you guys have about robot combat, any of my thoughts. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on things. There we go. Look at this. We got the ammunition here, like them little Nerf bullets. And let's see what we have here. Looks like 6. See, I also thought about it this morning. It's like, how good am I going to be at multitasking and talking about this schedule while I build this? Because whenever I've built one of these things, it's like peak quiet, and I'm just in Zen focused, thinking about what I'm building. But I guess we should get the ball rolling here and talk about Banshee first, who's right now sitting at 1-1. And like I said in my most recent video, very impressed with how reliable the flipper is. David Smalls always built some very reliable robots. So we did have a pretty upsetting Motorama outing. We'll be talking about that in an upcoming video. Son of Cram did not perform too hot in the 30-pound class at Motorama. And what on earth? What piece is this? Am I tripping? Oh, here it is. Okay. I apologize. Yeah, Son of Cram wasn't too hot in the 30-pound Motorama event, but not what we're talking about today. Banshee looked okay in both the fights. Had some really decent flips against Valkyrie, of course, in that fight. Almost got counted out. Almost lost a judge's decision. Lisa Winter, of course, going the other way in that fight. But right now, they have a very tough second half of the season. In fact, their first half of the season, probably their easier half, to be quite honest, as we look here. Switch back in Valkyrie to robots sitting at 1-1 as well right now. Not very impressive. Not really in the playoff picture, to be honest, in the moment. Taking on Emulsifier. Very interesting case. Kind of in the playoff picture, but in a very unique manner. It's 0-2, but we'll talk about that robot later. Emulsifier. If it looks like round 1 Emulsifier, it's gonna be a force to be reckoned with in this fight. Would be able to beat Banshee fairly easy, I reckon, and Bots FC needs that, sitting at 0-4 as a team right now. It's a real bummer to see. Sorry, pausing. Might need to do these pauses for trains of thought here. Adding these pieces in. I couldn't find them here for a second. But, yeah, I don't think that matchup is good for Banshee. Might be a judge's decision. I don't know if it's going to be as lucky as Malice was. I'm sure the team is going to get it worked out. Bots FC, a well-oiled team. But the matchup against Blip, it's not good for Banshee at all. Blip needs the win to make it into the playoffs. And at that point, Banshee will as well. And a win against a robot like Blip would definitely send them well in that direction. But as we just saw, Blip a couple days ago against our defending champion Tantrum looked utterly fantastic. So it's hard to, I mean, Banshee's a new flipper. It's got power similar to Sub-Zero. I love Sub-Zero, but it's just not going to work out for them, I don't think. David Small's a fantastic Roboteer. Maybe they can make some noise in the Golden Bolt bracket. Battlebots champions have a nice little bracket run there, like Sub-Zero did in 2020. But as of right now, with the robots they have coming up, unless they have some serious strokes of luck, and David Small does some of the most clutch, fantastic driving he has done in his career, doesn't really look like that's going to be the case. As we put in a couple more pieces here. So yeah, I'm going to say Emulsifier is probably going to be taking the matchup against Banshee. And probably the same for... Oh, definitely the same for Blip here. Fantastic robot. Showed it is still a high-quality performer this week. And these things are harder to get in than I thought. Let's see here. There we go. And now we need a long boy here. This is a pretty long boy. 1, 2. So it might be this piece. You know what I mean? Let's see here. It's hard to... It says count the holes, but the holes are nearly impossible to see here. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16. I guess I should at least count out loud, right? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it has to be this one. Unless there's a longer one, it has to be this one. Yep. All right, here we go. But now moving forward to a robot that also impressed all of us. I mean, a robot we've always known is absolutely fantastic, Beta. You know, we were talking about after 2020, Beta and John Reed finally lost that position, whether it be Beta or Terahertz, as the best hammerbot in the world, hammerbot/Xbot, after Shatter made, what was it, the top 16, top 8 in 2020? They had a fantastic run, Bots FC, that year during the COVID season. Went 2-0 in 2021, of course, didn't repeat it there. We'll talk about Shatter later, of course. Shatter faced Beta, and Beta took its claim back as best hammerbot in the world, undisputed. Click it in here. There we go. And that was an absolutely fantastic fight. I can't wait to break it down in this week's episode. I did a hammer count tally for both robots, averages, matches, impacts missed, all that stuff that we usually do in those videos. And I look forward to that being out. That should be really good. What else are we doing here? How do we connect this? I see. I think. But Beta here, after a very strong 2-0 season, even with the Thor hammer round 1, impressed. Black Dragon and Bloodsport. Jesus Christ, that is a terrifying schedule for even a robot of the caliber of Beta to have. And at the end of the day, it is still a hammer/Axbot. I guess it is more of an Axbot when you think of the the version we saw in round 1. But I don't even know if they have any more of those hammers available. That might have been their last one. It was pretty well mangled there. Certainly beyond repair. I mean, it literally went on auction the other week on eBay, I believe. There we go. What's next here? And the matchup against Black Dragon, Beta might be able to win. Black Dragon showed that it's has kind of a weakness up top in that quantum fight this week. Sorry, I'm probably gonna do a lot of that too. I'm not gonna say that Beta's gonna put holes in the top of excuse me, Black Dragon's armor like Quantum did. That was a really solid crusher. Probably won the fight, to be honest. But no, Beta can probably just do what it did against Shatter. Enough of those successive strikes to the top of the robot, take it out, or at least take out the weapon on Black Dragon. I don't know if you can take out Black Dragon itself. I think in this fight for sure, it's probably going to keep its knockout free streak alive. Riptide fight might be a different story. We'll get to that later. But for this fight, this is a bit of a coin flip one, a bit more of a challenge. If Black Dragon beat Quantum this week, I'd say Black Dragon all day, all night. But I don't know now. I mean, Black Dragon isn't at the same level of vertical spinner power as a robot like Ribot. who made short work of Beta during their round of 32 fight, or Lockjaw, for that matter. I don't know. This is definitely a tricky one. Don't don't count me on this one. I'm not as confident as I was with these Banshee ones, and I'll be honest with some of these. But I think I have to go with Beta right now, and we're talking about overall. Ooh, almost ate shit. Overall momentum with how these robots are doing. Beta looked fantastic this year so far, 2-0. Utterly amazing how well good some of these British robots are doing. I think someone on Reddit said, I think they're like what 7-3, 7-4 right now. Very impressive year so far for the UK guys, and they need that. It's a sign. Let's get some of those UK flippers. Let's get some Orions and some Eruptions in here. Maybe Ripper. I would love it. But with that momentum, maybe a 3-0 Beta going into a matchup against Bloodsport, who needs every win they can after the embarrassing loss in round 1 against Copperhead. I'd probably have to give that one to Bloodsport. I don't think Beta would get knocked out unless Bloodsport and Just a Marble can reach the back of Beta enough times. But in this scenario, let me keep building here. I'm going to keep doing this. I don't know how much this we're actually going to get done. But my cutoff here is like 9:45. So whatever happens, happens. But if Justin Marple can get to the back of Beta, to all those beautiful, tasty, exposed internals in the back, of course they'll be over in like 3 or 4 strikes, maybe in under a minute. But Beta, fantastically driven. John Reed, one of the best, probably the best hammer driver in the world, undisputed, inarguable after the performance he had this week. Let me see here. Pop these in. Do I have 4 of these? How does this work? I see. Okay, I haven't messed anything up yet. I thought I did. My apologies. Yes, but yeah, Beta's driver, John Reed, utterly fantastic. Shades of his old self in the Killer Hertz days in the battle box. Didn't look too good in that Saudi event in 2021, but now we're seeing more of what he's good at now inside the arena as we put these pieces on right here. Already seeing this little thing take shape, 4 pieces in. That's solid. And Jason Marson, of course, bringing aggression back to the robot. As John Reed said during that interview last week, Beta is back. Very exciting to see it. But now, getting back to this fight, talking about it with Bloodsport. I got kind of on a sidetrack here, multitasking. My apologies. As long as it doesn't get to the back, Beta can keep that weapon up forward, but I think it's not going to... I mean, we don't know. We don't know what weapon they're going to use. I don't know if they're going to... It's like what we talked about. Do they have another Thor-style hammer for this fight? Are they going to just throw that big Beta mallet out there? If they do, they're probably going to lose the hammerhead again against a robot like Bloodsport. But who knows? Maybe they can slow down the weapon and strike that weapon pod. But as I said here at the start, I'm going to have to go Bloodsport on judge's decision. But I still think Beta is going to be a playoff lock after the victory. I think it's going to have against Black Dragon, but that's also going to be close. Beta can still very well go 2-2 this year. It's not out of the realm of possibility with the schedule it has up in front of it. But now let's move forward to Big Dill. He's had a pretty disappointing year, all things considered. I really hate to say it. So we find this piece right here. No. Here we go. Hope the lack of music is fine for everybody. I was going to have music, but whenever I looked at the old VOD for the King of Draft streams, I was like, oh gosh, it's too loud. It's bothering me. So no music for this stream. Maybe in a future stream, I'll have some music. There we go. Thing would not. Is that supposed to go in there? Am I already messing stuff up? I don't know. I feel like this goes in. Yeah, there we go. That doesn't look messed up at all. No, that doesn't look right. Alright, time out. What we got here? What's wrong? Something's bucked up. No, that's the right piece. Well, there we go. That was weird. Anyway, yes, Big Dill. bit of an unfortunate year for it so far. Hopefully when we see it in Robo Games, they got the issues worked out, because that's kind of what we saw at Robot Ruckus in 2021. Issues worked out for Battlebots 2021 when it competed in the Golden Bolt tournament. But it definitely has new issues for it this season, as we've seen so far. And it's a shame, too, because in that Scorpius fight, it looked really good. And as I mentioned in the recent video, would have won the fight if it didn't randomly break down there in the blue square screws. Real bummer there for that one. This will go in. It's driving me crazy. So hopefully we see that robot have a much easier day at Robo Games, taking on some of these robots in this new and improved form. Maybe the secret for Big Dill is just competing as Banana Runt. Maybe he needs to show up as Banana Runt for Battlebots next year. I certainly wouldn't be against it. But I guess Mad Catter, I've been hyping it up for a few weeks on these TCC episodes. Western Allied Robotics Civil War. I'm going to break this damn thing. This doesn't feel right. Okay. It's supposed to be right, but homeboy ain't fitting. Is it in the right hole? No, I'm an idiot. That's what's going on. It's not in the right hole. Makes a lot more sense. This is called quality live stream content right here. You're going to watch a guy struggle with a small Lego toy. I mean, VEX Robotics toy. Sorry, guys. There we go. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. And yeah, I've really hyped up this Mad Catter Western Allied Robotics Civil War fight. Good Lord. Coming up here in the next couple of weeks. We had a really good Western Allied Robotics versus Western Allied Robotics in the Golden Bolt tournament last year. With Clawviper versus Mad Catter. Can't wait to see this run around of it. But Mad Catter is just a more well-oiled robot. Pretty easy to predict how that one's going to go. That's all Mad Catter. Might be a knockout, might not be. Mad Catter's not going to have the weird driving issues that Zach Lyle was showing off with Scorpius. We've seen Calvin Eva in 2 fights this year, and even in that loss against Riptide, as frustrating as it was, he was clearly well tuned in. The driving was good. Riptide was just a better robot that day, unfortunately. Let's see here. 3 pegs. And what on earth is that? Here we are. Boom. Can't grab it. But in the free shipping fight, moving forward here, my apologies. I might have a chance. Really don't know how that's going to end up going down. Free shipping. Looked really good in the first week. We'll talk about more of it later. During week 1 of the regular season against Gigabyte, we thought this was going to be a new era, kind of like Original Sin. But now it kind of makes you wonder how Original Sin's going to do inside the inside the Robo Games arena this year, come April. You know, how's that's going to end up going down? Because free shipping hasn't been so hot this year. And even in 2018, Original Sin won the Robo Games Championship by the skin of its teeth. That matchup against Gruff, a lot of people, myself included, thought Gruff won in the later rounds of the event. Popping that tooth in right there. So who knows? Maybe we'll see free shipping and, Original Sin and Banana Runt fight at Robo Games as well. Maybe this is a run back waiting to happen. But in this one, I gotta go with reliability and free shipping. As crazy as it is, only falls to the best of robots. You know, robots like Hydra, robots like not even Tombstone. I'm sure there's more of them. I can't think of them off the top of my head. Robots who have knocked out free shipping. Uppercut, there's a big one. So I don't think it's gonna be a big deal that does that. We'll have to see how it goes for them. They're probably not gonna make the playoffs. The only robot I can see making the playoffs so far is Beta. But we just talked about Beta. Speaking of Beta, Black Dragon is next on this list, and Black Dragon. I'll talk a lot more about it in the video coming up when we talk about Episode 8. We break down Episode 8. But what do we need here? These little pieces. I think Black Dragon should have won that fight, and I'm not just saying that because he's on my King of Draft fantasy team. I think if the robot breaks its own weapon, that should really count against it in damage. But that's just me. I still love Quantum, a fantastic robot we'll talk about later. I'm glad it's 3-0. It's already made the playoffs. Second international robot to do so. But it's an iffy victory. I'm just glad Black Dragon still has its streak, but people are going to add risk it now because of that fight, which is frustrating. Taking on Beta, streak stays alive, like I said. I think Beta's going to win that by the skin of his teeth. With that Riptide fight, that's big money. Episode 14 on April 20th. Hell yeah. Riptide's probably one of the candidates for top seed. Definitely one of the candidates to make 4-0 this year. But he's got to get past Black Dragon. That's going to be a big money fight. We know how Ethan Kurtz is this year. I really want to see Black Dragon take that victory. Knock out Riptide somehow. We know Black Dragon, not really known for being a knockout artist. But I believe in them. Why can't they do it, right? I just realized I have the wrong piece in here. Maybe a lucky shot, get them behind the arena bumper like Riptide did to Mad Catter. That would be really nice. Closest thing we're going to get to out of the arena this year, I believe. But realistically, with the way Riptide's been this year, and I even said it, even in our prediction series, I had Riptide going 4-0. I'm going to stick with that. I think Riptide is going to go 4-0. Whether you like him or not, he's a fantastic driver, Ethan Kurtz, and the robot's fantastic. Riptide, as I said, maybe one of the 5 best robots in the world right now. Speaking of one of the 5 best robots in the world right now, I really got to get the year's first TCC overall rankings out. I have all the rankings for the Battlebots robots that we're talking about today, but shit, I don't have the rankings for Extreme Robots as one event in November because they never post or anything, and it's frustrating because it's a key piece. It's the only non-Battlebots thing that's happened this year. It's the only way we're going to have cool little robots like Eruption and Ripper and stuff sprinkled in with all these Battlebots names like Blip and Hydra and Shredderator and Minotaur and Whiplash, but can't have it yet because we don't really have enough info on stuff like 3 fights that Eruption on one, so who knows. Speaking of Shredderator, we'll get to it soon. I hope Black Dragon can still make the playoffs at 2-2 if it can win one of these fights against either Beta or Riptide. Otherwise, they're not going to make the playoffs, which is going to really suck for me. But hopefully we can see them do good at King of Draft, at Battlebots Champions. There's still hope for them. If they can go 2-2, they'll probably make the playoffs off name value. Moving forward, though, speaking of name value, Blip just beat Tantrum to keep its season alive in round 3, main event of episode 8, which we recently saw. Whew, just getting dry throaty there. Hard to prove you're more undeniable than beating the literal defending champion, especially when it's your older stablemate and a robot like Tantrum. Let's see, I think I gotta flip this over somehow. Oh, I see what's going on here. That's trippy. Cool. Okay. What? Did I put these in a weird way? Oh. I'm always panicked I'm messing up these VEX kits. These VEX kits trip me out. Honest to God. There we go. But yes, very impressive win for Blip. Now moving on against Banshee in a fight that we just discussed. Oh, all these need to get pushed in. Jeez, I really didn't do good here. There we go. That's a bit more like it. And as I said, Blip's just a better robot here. Aaron Hill now has that momentum that he needs to make a playoff push if he wants any chance to get into the top 32. And if he dominates Banshee, maybe even gets David Small's robot out of the arena here in one of those little corner pockets over the tall walls that are now there. Or maybe even behind the pulverizer. We haven't seen him behind the pulverizer out of the arena since. Jeez, how long has it been? Hydra versus Petunia? That's the only one I can think of that recently happened. And I was there for that one. That was amazing. But yeah, easy for Blip. I think they're going to make the playoffs after everything we thought that was going to happen to them. they're in a good spot now, and it's good to see that they dug themselves out of that hole. Now moving forward to Bloodsport, Pori Nog's favorite robots. Shouts to everyone who won the giveaways. You're gonna be getting a couple of these Pori Nog Loves Bloodsport decals. Maybe I'll open up the shop soon, and maybe I can put some of these bad boys out so people can buy them. People want to give me their money for them, so why not, right? And also we got the TCC stickers, love them. We're gonna have a new logo soon though. If you haven't heard about that, very excited about it. It's gonna look awesome. I'm just getting graphics made right now for the new overlay. It's all gonna look great. Very excited. But let's not get too off topic here. Porinog's favorite robot, Bloodsport, is gonna be competing here at is gonna be entering here at 1-on-1 like many other robots. And much like Beta, very tough schedule ahead of it. It features Beta, but it also features Rotator, a battle of the horizontals in round 2. And let me look at this thing here for a second. What we got here? Those pieces are in. That bad boy's in. I messed something up here. I want to mess it up. Here we go. And in that, as we get back on topic here, get this piece in. I think it's going to be coming down a lot to durability, of course, in that Bloodsport fight with Rotator. And Rotator, outside that match against Hydra, where it was having those awful receiver issues, I felt so bad for Victor Soto because they definitely had a chance to take out Hydra and show up Jake Ewer early in the season there if all things were working. I'd love to see them match up again in the playoffs, maybe a round 32 fight if Rotator can sneak in there at 2-2. If it ends up going 2-2, because it does have a tough schedule as well. Grab a couple more pieces here. I need another long boy right here. But in terms of durability, you gotta go for Rotator. Bloodsport had a little bit of issue in the Gigabyte fight, and I think Rotator's gonna be able to capitalize on Bloodsport's higher weapon to hit the body of Bloodsport, land some solid strikes. And I'm sure Bloodsport's gonna have some anti-horizontal spinner business on deck. Maybe the Bolter Beast style plow that they used in the Gigabyte fight we recently saw. Only a matter of time before we eventually see that fight. What episode is that? 11? So yeah, very soon, only a couple weeks away. There's going to be a big break, apparently, 2-week break in Battlebots this year. And it is kind of funny. Battlebot seasons past, I saw that break and was like, oh no, what am I going to do? I love Battlebots. I need my Battlebots. 2 weeks, that sucks. But, to be real here, now that I have TCC and I try to treat this stuff like a second job, kind of, it's like, oh man. I'm going to take one of those weeks and just take a break from the channel. And I'm very excited about it. That's going to be quite nice. But getting back on topic here, as I looked for that piece, I had it for a second. And, I put it in there. That's where it is. What else we got here? We need one of these bad boys. Yes, we do. Look at that. Easy step. Then we need one of these. So yeah, I'm predicting a loss against Rotator. Probably a judge's decision. Bloodsport is durable. I'm sure what happened against Copperhead was a bit of a freak accident. Crazy impact. But against Beta, like I mentioned, I also think it's going to be a victory. So there's still room for Bloodsport to go 3-1 here. But also can easily go 1-3 and have another bad year after a decent enough year. It did make the playoffs, but really didn't perform too well, all things considered, compared to 2020 and 2021. So they could use a good bounce back year to show that they are a top level robot. They were worth the top 4 seed that they were given in 2020. We'll just have to see how it goes. Bloodsport sits at 1-1 right now. And here comes my boys, Captain Shredderator. I feel really bad because in one video I said Captain Shredderator on accident. I don't know how I didn't notice myself say that. When I was editing, I realized it, and I was like, I let that make the cut? I thought that was okay. And someone even mentioned it in the comments. and I felt bad. And I was like, oh no. I love me some Shredderator, man. I mean, I talked about him in my first video I ever did here on the Combot Collective, my little introductory video. If anyone remembers that. Brian Nave, Nick Nave, both very influential people that getting the Combot Collective started. So if they somehow saw that video, I do apologize. Not my intentions at all here. But talking about your robot, you know, I mentioned it a couple weeks back when we were talking about this whole Riptide diddly-doo. What's going on here with the robot and the team themselves and how people feel about them? You know, I try to keep it neutral here at the Combot Collective, but I did voice a few personal thoughts on the robot. Here with Captain Shredderator, I'd love to see it beat Riptide, but let's all be realistic here. It's not going to happen. Captain Shredderator got an absolute beating in round 1 against Quantum. Won against Hijinks and a comeback by the skin of its teeth in what was just one of the goofiest matches ever. What are these weird long pieces I need? Are they these? Oh gosh, foot cramp, foot cramp, foot cramp, foot cramp. I've been sitting here for 39 minutes. Oof, that didn't feel good. I mean, what are they going to do here against one of the best robots in the world right now, Riptide? Jackpot, on the other hand, it's going to be interesting. We'll talk about Jackpot later, of course, but Jackpot, not the most impressive of years so far. A lot of their big changes. Even when we hyped it up on the applicant rundown, we thought they were going to be good. Haven't been so good this far. Have been so good so far. Words, there we go. It looks the part. Everyone loves the big spinning roulette slot machine on the back of the robot. The streamline wedges look good, but they certainly don't work good. In fact, the team doesn't really seem to care to use them much to keep them upwards for most of the recent rotator fight that they had. It's just not their year. So maybe the Captain Shredderator can win that, but not all of these 2-2 robots are going to make the playoffs. So if some of them aren't going to make the cut, Captain Shredderator will probably be one of them with that schedule run. Unfortunate. I think they're kind of out of the mix right now. As Kenny Florian put it, as I mentioned in a recent video, they feel more like 0-2 robots, Shredderator and Hijinks right now. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way of the game as we move forward to a robot that certainly doesn't feel like a bottom feeder right now. As we scroll up here a little bit, Claw Viper. Oh my God, this is a robot. This is the story of the year. You know, we have these robots every year that just go on crazy runs and become memorable all of a sudden. Death Roll in 2019, Tantrum in 2020, Glitch in 2021. I'm sure there's other examples for 2021, but Glitch is one that immediately comes to mind. And it's been Claw Viper this year, 3-0. And maybe they'll lose against Hypershock in round 4 here. But when we were talking about Hypershock in Hypershock in preseason, making these episode predictions, these fight predictions, you know, we all kind of laughed at Hypershock, and everyone was like, damn, man, Claw Viper got this brutal schedule. You know, 3 of TCC's top 20 ranked robots were in this guy's field. It looked terrifying for them. Crazy vertical spinners. We all thought they were going to be Overhaul, and Overhaul ended up being its biggest challenge so far. Ribbon and Omnis provided great matchups. I don't think it's going to beat Hypershock. I think Hypershock's finally going to solve the Claw Viper problem, the snake issue that all these vertical spinners are having. But it's been a good run. They're already for the playoffs. They're probably going to have a pretty solid seed. Maybe not top 10, but I'm sure they're going to be in the top half. If they're in the 20s, I'll be a little shocked, but I guess I wouldn't be surprised. Clipping these in. That was a very satisfying clip. Did you hear that? So, quick one there for Claw Viper, but now we move forward to Cobalt, who recently had one of the most fantastic, one of the most suspenseful fights in recent BattleBots memory within the past 2 seasons, I'd say. That looks pretty good right there, and I guess this all clips together. This thing's bigger than I thought it was going to be. Usually when these Lego sets, I always look at them after the fact. I'm like, it's smaller than I thought it would be. It's not the case here. As I try lining this up. Hope everyone can hear me. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't be able to. I mean, I see my volume thing, so, or whoever is here, maybe the one person's who here. Let's see. Why is this so trippy? Let's see. Oh, it's because I'm looking at it completely wrong. Hear my little siren thingy ticking behind me. There we no. It goes in there. Is it supposed to sit like that? I don't think it's supposed to sit like that. All right. Pause. Turns out I do indeed still suck at this. Let's see here. So what's going on here? That's on. Okay. Ah, I see. Yeah, I did do it wrong. Alright, let the robot talking resume. My apologies. Something looks off. Timeout. Alright, you know what? I'm putting the thing down because I need to talk about robots here for a minute, at least. We got some robots to talk about. We got some time to kill here. We don't have much time here. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't want to get. What I'm trying to say here is I want to get out of here before 10. So let's move forward here. Cobalt 1-1, like I said, fantastic fight against Minotaur. As we mentioned in the recent video, the kinetic energy weapons are out of the way. It's all up now to Overhaul and Lucky, Clamper, Controlbot, and a Flipper. Two decent representations of these classes, but still robots which Cobalt has easily torn through before. Cobalt or Carbide, for that matter, any spinner that these guys have made have pretty much bullied any non-spinner out of the way, except maybe Lieutenant Bam. If you want to go to the TIFR 2018, or Duck, if you want to count that a whole disaster. But outside of that, looks pretty fantastic at 1-1. More of a case of, instead of what Shredderator has, feels more like a 2-0 than a 1-1 right now. Great run for them so far. Overhaul and Lucky, though, should be easy victories for them. Both of them. Maybe Lucky will provide some resilience. All it takes is really one good flip to take out Cobalt, so that is something to worry about. We'll see how it goes. Lucky's definitely going to be something we're going to have to wait for. End of the season, April 27th, right before the playoffs. Last week of the regular season. But Overhaul, I'm sorry, no. In fact, Cobalt, we're going to have to wait a while for them. Next fight's at the end of March after the big break, so we'll be a little while before we end up getting their results. But now moving on to Copperhead, this is a robot who's definitely going to be looked at as a 4-0 contender. Pretty much has already made itself look, given itself that spot. It's made it through the hard part of its brat season as well. Taking out Bloodsport and Triton. You know, Ripperoni might provide some challenge. Ripperoni, we'll get to it later, had an excellent matchup against a Endgame in the recent weeks. We talked about that in our recent video as well. Talked about a lot of fights, of course. We covered 2 episodes in one with that one. Shoot! Drop that. And let's retrace our steps here because I think I messed some stuff up. But if it can get past Ripperoni, and I think it will, as much as I hate to say it, I love me some Ripperoni, of course, because of Robots Are in My Life, our awesome sponsors. Love me some Omega Team. What we got here? Where did this guy come from? This mysterious fella. Oh, Jesus Christ, I just dropped it. I may never see him again. Sorry, y'all. My apologies. We are losing VEX parts by the minute. Looks like a whole mess down here. Okay, there we go. As we resume here, where was I? So where we're sitting at, yes. Ripperoni may be a challenge. I think Copperhead will be fine. Very interested to see how that Kraken fight goes. Pretty easy to say that Matt Spurka hasn't had the most success with the new Kraken design as he would have hoped. It's good to see that Kraken 2.0 has done very well at the Destructathon as of late, picking up wins against robots like Tazbot quite a bit. But that's all showbot fights. This new, serious version of Kraken hasn't been the best so far. It's quite unfortunate as I try to remember where this piece is. This is the... Oh, okay. Here we go. Wait, time out. I think I have where it went. No. This just makes for quality TV. Here we go. There we go. Now we're back to square one, I think. Take another drink. I mean, as I was saying, Kraken hasn't been the best so far. I think the team knows this. It'll be really good next year, I'm sure, when they get everything worked out. Like I mentioned in the prior video, Kraken, they kind of switched it out. This 2.0 version had crazy reliability, not the best weapon. Weapon's wild now on this new one, landing big-time strikes. The arm seems still reliable like the old Crusher was. But now the drive's giving them so many issues. And that's what happens when you make a full-on rebuild. We've seen it so many times in the past, but that's just how the game goes. So it's pretty easy to say, like a lot of fans have said, 4-0 for Copperhead. They're going to be placing pretty high in the regular season. I'm sorry, in the playoffs. Maybe not top 4, maybe in the top 8. I would say in the top 8. But speaking of a high-placing robot in the playoffs, last time we saw Death Roll, of course, 2019, top 4. We discussed their dilemma in the recent video about, is this robot still quality enough to, yeah, I think I have that. I think I've done a dumb here. Big time dumb. Well, let me look here at what's going on. Yeah, okay, I see what's going on. I have done a dumb. So while I deconstruct this entire thing, we talked about how Death Roll, it was in a crate since, early 2020, right before the COVID season happened. So we talked about maybe this robot has, maybe in a literal sense, some rust to it. God's, for lack of a better word, its ass handed to it in that Cobalt fight. Cobalt looked fantastic. Death Roll not so much, unfortunately. See, this is why you can't trust me to build these VEX kits. This is embarrassing. I got maybe 2 people watching me in some imaginary mind hall. A man building a VEX kit poorly. I'm trying to remember what he was talking about. Building a kit. But here we go. So yeah, definitely some worries for Death Roll early on, but in that switchback fight, unfortunately, it was at the cost of my Texas brethren, Rev Robotics. Excuse me. We ended up seeing... Jesus, Murphy. This thing's a mess. I don't know if I'm going to finish this. This is gone awry. But we ended up seeing, Death Roll back to its old 2019 form against Switchback. Looked very impressive there. Won in knockout. As it says right here, 1 minute, 44 seconds. Very solid matchup. Taking on Mammoth. And takes on... Yeah, let me try this again. Reset. This is trippy. I hate this live stuff. I do it once every few months, and it's like, oh gosh, I can't just retake. But like I said in that video, Killer M's coming up. Top 16 level robots in the past. Mammoth made top 16 in 2020. Monsoon made top 16 in 2018. Mammoth and Monsoon you know, robots that Death Roll should be able to beat, especially Mammoth. That should be an easy win for Death Roll. And at 2-2, should be enough to get them into the playoffs. But I guess we're just going to have to see how it ends up going. Okay. Let's set all that down. I'm looking at this and I'm like, oh man, I messed up a couple of steps. It's all good. This is why I don't trust myself to multitask. But Monsoon, definitely more of a threat, much more of a challenge. I mean, especially if they run. You know, I think we're definitely going to see Monsoon, maybe future adaptations of it, focus on using that anti-horizontal spinner configuration, maybe as a primary design, because that thing looks brutal. And with the complete lack of wedgelets or any sort of configuration of wedgelets on Death Roll, you have to think Monsoon might just bust out that anti-horizontal spinner detachment just to dominate the wedge game and pick up a victory there. And if that's the case, I don't know what Death Roll could do to counter it. I think in 2023 we're going to see Death Roll come back new and improved. You know, I mean the team has obviously still been competing; they just haven't been working on the robot. And we're going to see Death Roll, you know, up to 2022, 2023 standards. It's probably going to have, you know, a Shreemec proper, you know, well, it's always had a Shreemec. What am I saying? What I'm trying to say is wedgelets, or at least a wedgelet configuration, some sort of, you know, ground game system for the robot, and they'll be better. Well, given what's going on right now, I think they can beat Mammoth to get into the playoffs. I think they can beat Monsoon depending on what configuration Tom Brewster ends up agreeing on. We'll have to see how it ends up going. But now let's talk about Emulsifier. We already touched about it a little bit when we were discussing Banshee at the top of this little live stream. And in that Banshee matchup, I think that it is going to be Emulsifier's first career win as a heavyweight. Take another drink. But that Quantum match is going to be something else. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs because of this matchup. I think Quantum's going to play security pretty well here. In my upcoming video, I'm planning on talking about how, you know, this match, even if assuming that Emulsifier does beat Banshee, and I think it will, heading into this Quantum fight, you know, we have a robot that absolutely must win this fight to make it into the playoffs. Taking on a robot who's pretty much having a victory lap fight, just playing to see if it can have a perfect season and secure itself a top 8 seed probably. How is it going to go? I think the Treads, I mean, Emulsifier is obviously a deceivingly fast robot. We saw that in the Fusion and the Malice fight, both the fights it's had so far. So we'll probably see it in the Banshee fight, and that's another reason why I think it's going to win the Banshee fight by knockout fairly easily, especially given the reliability of Banshee that we touched on earlier. But in this matchup against Quantum, I think Quantum is eventually, because Quantum also, you know, a very fast robot in its own right, maybe even better driven than the brand new cool Emulsifier here. Forgot the own robot I was talking about, Jesus. So making my prediction here, I'd have to go Quantum. I don't know if it's going to be what everyone's envisioning it to be. Oh, he's going to get into the Treads. But I still think it's going to be a pretty fantastic matchup, and it's going to be a pretty big win for Quantum. Maybe they can get to the top of Emulsifier, dig into the front. But all it's going to take is a couple solid strikes from Emulsifier to hit the Quantum side, hit the rear, and beating a 3-0 robot like Quantum is definitely going to secure a 2-2 robot like Emulsifier. A spot in the playoffs, even if it is in that, you know, kind of scary 28 seed to 29 seed to a 32 seed window where you have to face a top 4 seeded robot in the first round. That's pretty spooky. We'll have to see how it goes for Emulsifier and Bots FC, though. They really need to bounce back in the second half of the regular season. And now we're picking up some speed. Now I'm not focusing on this train wreck here. I should have picked an easier one. I thought I picked an easy one. I got caveman brain over here, but it's all good. Moving right along here, we got Endgame, the 2020 Battlebots champion, 2021 Golden Bolt holder. It's going to be interesting to see if he can defend that Golden Bolt in the big tournament at the end of our big year here. Of course, one main event victory against Blip, one opener loss against Ripperoni. The fight heard around the world. Everyone's already talked about it. Biggest upset probably we're going to have all year, and gave use those goofy forks and kind of paid the price, to be honest. They take on Hypershock and Gigabyte moving forward here, and of course, Endgame's not going to get an easy schedule. It's Endgame, but unfortunately, Gigabyte not looking like the 2020 Gigabyte, not even the 2021 Gigabyte. But we'll touch on that in a second. Hypershock, I believe it's already lost, what, once against Endgame? I think it was twice. No, at once. Pretty sure it was once. I might be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But lost my train of thought, zippity zoo. I don't think it's going to change here. I will have to say that. I don't think it's going to change here. I think Endgame's now going to have a chip on their shoulder after this whole loss against Ripperoni. People are going to think they can beat it now. That there's like an answer to Endgame. And Hypershock, who I do have ranked number 1. It was still my pick to win Battlebots this year. Can he do it? I think Hypershock can make the playoffs at 2-2, so they don't worry about it here. But second, I need to hide this phone because I swear to God, I'm hearing calls and stuff. Weird calls is driving me crazy. Okay, back to what we were talking about here with Endgame. The matchup against Hypershock. I still have it as my champion. I think he can make the playoffs in a low middle seed at 2-2. But against Endgame, I think with the momentum Endgame needs to have right now, I think Hypershock will lose that fight. And then the Gigabyte fight is going to be easy pickings for Endgame. We'll talk about Gigabyte later. It's a travesty of a season for them. They're going to have a bounce back season next year. I'm pretty confident of that with the developments we've heard about them moving into the 2023 season. But we'll just this version is just ain't it, Chief. Especially against a big time vertical spinner like Endgame. I don't think they can do what they need to do to pull it off. We'll talk about free shipping here in a minute. We've already had an hour of stream right here. An hour and a half to go. Hopefully I can get through the whole field. Otherwise, we're going to have to kind of lightning round this. I would hate to do that. But let me pause here. I'm going to have to cut to the... it's going to be kind of silly. I'm going to have to cut to the after the Havoc or the amidst the Havoc intermission one because I prepared everything but this. So, kudos to me. But here we go. I'll be back. Is there a chat? I'm looking at mine. I'm not seeing a chat. Oh, wow, there is. So, okay, there was a chat. I feel like an idiot now. I can't believe I thought that. Okay. I was like, man, really no one showed up in the chat. Okay, well, let me see here. Because I was looking at the chat on my screen, on the live stream, and I was like, oh, wow, no one's saying anything. Jameson Go is here. Hello. That is, that's crazy. Here we go. Let's see. Is it quiet? All right, back at it. Hopefully, what I needed was to eat some. I had to eat something real quick. As soon as I sit down, the dog walks in. Iconic. All right, and we're back. Retconning this because A, it was taking too long, and we're gonna get this done. I mean, it's 50 robots here, Jesus. In the minimum window of time, should have planned this out better. But this is our first TCC live, so you know, live and learn. Mess with all this in another window of time. But you got the chat actually here now, so hopefully I can see some people say some things. We'll see what happens. But let's move right along here because we have not made too much progress, to be honest. We gotta pick the pace up here a little bit. There we go. There he is. Whew. They're all settled in there. There we go. But now let's talk about Fusion. And if you're a fan, of course, you know that Fusion won the most spectacular. Cool. Mic's all on. One of the most spectacular robots to see fight this year. Absolutely amazing the stuff it has managed to do so far this season, especially in its first two fights. Like we mentioned during our, I was at the episode 5 run-in episode, one of the best, easily the best bout machine we've seen during the 2022 Battlebots season. Not so impressive during the huge fight recently. It is a bit of a bummer. Huge knocking out Fusion in 3 strikes. And that really just is a testament to how good Fusion is, how good Huge is. We'll be talking about here shortly. But who else do we have here? They have Rotator. Of course, my apologies. Of course we knew that. They have Rotator in round 4. We'll talk about Rotator at the end. We already mentioned Rotator a little bit during one of the earlier robots' fights. Bloodsport, that's who it was. Rotator and Fusion, as I said, probably one of the 3 most anticipated fights left in the regular season. I'd say that I'm still excited for. Of course, Witch Doctor versus Minotaur, which we'll talk about later. But Fusion versus Rotator, 2 of the best horizontal spinners we've seen this year, bar none. The vertical spinner on Fusion is going to be a big-time X factor. Playing that in against Rotator's horizontal spinner, that undercutter, that's going to be very good. Against it, though, I'm going to have to say I think it's going to be a loss. I think Fusion is going to go 1-3 and miss the playoffs. Watch out for it, though, in the Golden Burt tournament, though. I would love to see Fusion and Reese were, poker face holding up that golden bolt. That would be amazing. But now, going to a couple of robots that are kind of in Skid Row here with Gigabyte and Glitch. Gigabyte, we already talked about it with the endgame fight. We think it's gonna. I know it's gonna lose the endgame fight because it really hasn't impressed me so much this year. I hate to say it because Gigabyte, one of the real nostalgia robots left in the field. This design robot has been finding a course since 2003. Everyone knows Megabyte, Super Megabyte, Invader from Battlebots and RoboGames, Combot Cup, King of Bots seasons past. The new regime, though, with these 2 new guys. Of course, it's hard to take up a robot like this on your first day. It's not your first time ever captaining a heavyweight robot, a robot with the lineage and the uniqueness of a machine like Gigabyte. But despite that, it's just frustrating seeing how they've done this year. And we all kind of forecasted it during the Battlebots previews. 0-2 so far this year against Free Shipping and Bloodsport. They got Starchild next. Huge managed to beat Gigabyte pretty easily in 2019 on a judge's decision. Starchild struggling right now at 0-2. Another robot we'll talk about later. How will they do here? I think they'll probably pick up the win against Gigabyte. I have to lean towards it, even if it is a bit of an awkward judge's decision. I don't think it's going to be the best fight. And then Endgame, of course, that's going to be a knockout for sure for Endgame. It's going to be a big one, too. Maybe we'll see Gigabyte get deshelled. Maybe they can turn some heads after they get a bit more stick time during this Golden Bolt tournament. Maybe something can happen during Robo Games when it appears as Megabyte. Only time will tell for them. But, yeah, as I said, another robot which has really struggled this year, Glitch. It's crazy. This robot has gone from 7-0, one of the craziest runs we've ever seen a single robot have at Battlebots. I am off the Will Be Right Back screen, right? Okay. I had to make sure. I was seeing it on the YouTube thing, and I was like, oh, God. But I did forget to switch to that one, so let me switch to that one real quick. My apologies, guys. But there we go. Now it looks like chat's updating. That's bizarre. Let me go. Maybe it's because it was off camera. I don't know. I really don't know how this thing works. I'm still figuring out this whole live streaming ball game. But, yeah, Glitch here. Frustrating to see how it's done so far after 7-0 start, like I mentioned. Lost against Witch Doctor in a very good fight by knockout. Lost against Riptide and Lockjaw, though, less than a minute, also by knockout. Now it takes on Triton and Valkyrie and needs a couple of finicky horizontal spinners like this in the schedule if it wants any chance to still make the playoffs. And UC Berkeley has it here. Very lucky with these two robots on deck. Triton has had some big time issues, and it might not even be the same after that brutalizing it took from Copperhead in round 2. Will it beat Glitch, though? I don't think it can, to be honest. Glitch is a very good shape for horizontal spinners. At least for Triton's case. Taking on a robot like Valkyrie, maybe Valkyrie will have some more luck using a blade like Glory, like we saw in the Banshee match. Of course, not using the jousting arm, of course, if there's anything left of it. I think Valkyrie can win that Glitch match, but I will entertain it and say that Glitch will win this fight just because the new Lucy Dew regime of Valkyrie, even if it is just a one-season thing while Leanne Cushing had to do some different stuff, hasn't been the best we've seen of Valkyrie. This new white and navy blue version era of Valkyrie hasn't been the best, and it's a bit unfortunate. Even if it does sit at 1-1 right now, which isn't the worst. The loss against Banshee was a bit of a bummer to see. Just wasn't hitting its mark at all. But with that, 2-2, if that's end up being how it goes. And will that be enough to get Glitch in? Probably, just because of what it did last year. But it might be a 32 seed, and I could see that being a big narrative for Battlebots. Oh, here it goes. The robot that was 7-0 last year at one point. Now the 32 seed taking on number 1 seed. Ooh. So, there's still room in the playoffs for Glitch. But UC Berkeley will really need to pick it up from this point forward as we move forward to Gruff, who also has a window to get into the playoffs at 2-2, but it has to be near perfect. And it might need to beat Witch Doctor to get there. The matchup against Witch Doctor, of course, big-time Florida implications. When you think of Florida, two of the first robots you think of are Witch Doctor and Gruff. Gruff, a multi-time winner at multi-time winner at Robot Ruckus events in that Robot Ruckus arena, that rectangular arena that I think is now retired from heavyweight action. Unfortunately, no heavyweight event at Robot Ruckus this year. But when it did compete in that arena, of course, it won Robot Ruckus, and I want to say 2014 or 2015. And of course, recently in 2022 at Miami Maker Faire, won that event as well. But that momentum has not really carried in. That win against Ripperoni was a good one, but a bit of an awkward one. Got its ass handed to it by Quantum. Taking on Witch Doctor, it's going to need to be perfect. But surprisingly, these two robots have never fought any sort of matchup. I don't believe they ever met in any of those early Orlando Maker Faire arena events when Witch Doctor was just running as a pusher. Actually, no, it was running with a wheel as a vertical spinner, if I do remember correctly. But this is going to be their first time. There's a lot of history here. They've shared tables at plenty of events. Sam McCamus and Andrea Galately. We'll have to see how it goes, but odds are on Witch Doctor. I mean, everything's pointing for a Minotaur versus Witch Doctor 3-0, 3-0 match to decide number 1 seed in the playoffs. I think that's going to be what we're going to get, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Gruff taking on Malice. So this is where Gruff really needs to show what's up. Malice, we've talked about it in the past. Maybe they fixed it. Malice at Destructathon looks a bit more reliable, but Malice in the 2022 Battlebots season has not looked reliable. They have the same woes that they had in the 2021 season so far. They have 2 more fights left on their schedule, so maybe they have time to turn it around. This is a round 4 fight that we're talking about here, Gruff versus Malice. But if Malice's weapon breaks fast, Gruff pretty much has a play toy to dominate the fight with for, 2.5 minutes, 2 minutes, minute and a half. And that could really impress the selection committee to give Gruff, that bottom 10 seeding in the playoffs. If there's room. That really depends on how other robots do. And maybe it's in a play-in fight. Maybe top 34. Maybe top 40 if that's what they end up doing. I don't really know what they're going to end up deciding on. I honestly feel like they let too many robots into the playoffs as it is. But I digress. 2-2 would have to be where Gruff finishes here. I think it will. But will it be enough to get to the playoffs? Only time will tell as we move to Hijinks, who, like we talked about with Shredderator, 1-1, but feels more like 0-2 right now, taking on Ripperoni and Switchback moving forward. There's obviously a chance for it to do some good here and make it into the playoffs at 3-1. Keep its streak of never missing a playoff in the Battlebots. Never missing a playoff event in Battlebots. Continuing after 2 seasons, 2020, 2021, of not missing it. Looked good enough in that big deal fight, of course. Not really so much in the Shredderator fight. 1 solid hit before its weapon went complete, and the bot went complete shortly after. And you got 2 unique figure vertical spinners in Ripperoni and Switchback. I think Ripperoni should be able to beat Hijinks, but Switchback might be a different case. It depends on what Hijinks would show up for that fight against Switchback. Switchback has a solid vertical spinner, but it's not the most consistent, I would have to say, unfortunately. Has reliability issues. Hasn't worked, I believe, all the way. Actually, it worked all the way in the Banshee fight. I am mistaken. But the lifter is a big factor if you want to fight Hijinks. If they can flip Hijinks over, then they could probably do more damage, but we'll have to see how it goes. If Hijinks shows up like it did in round 1, it's going to do great. If it shows up like it did against Shredderator in round 2, Switchback would win that one, have it in the bag fairly easy. They maybe even would be able to bully Hijinks, push around the arena, put it onto the upper deck or into the corner under the pulverizer, maybe knock itself up a few seeds if it would make the playoffs from that fight. Who knows? But I kind of question what's going to go on with Hijinks this year. I'm going to predict 2-2 for the rest of the year, though. Lose to Ripperoni, beat Switchback. But kind of like with Black Dragon schedule, there's a lot of question marks still here for me. Let's scroll up here a little bit more. Talk about a robot that we pretty much have sealed and locked into the playoffs. It is 3-0, and we're talking about huge. It has Starchild up next in the Battle of the Big Wheeled Bots, and everyone's been so hyped about this matchup, so excited about it. Oh my god, mark it on your schedule. Ooh, it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be that good of a fight. I think it's going to be very awkward. I think they're just going to kind of awkwardly bump into each other, roll into each other, a bit like a weird sumo match. I can't see it being the greatest of matchups, but I guess we're just going to have to see how it goes here. But regardless of what happens, if Starchild has had a better performance this year, I would say, oh yeah, Starchild will win that fight. But the reach hasn't been there. The driving's been there. Brandon Zielinski's been a fantastic driver. But with how huge it's performing this year, I mean, it's had a 3-0 year, and this isn't a cupcake 3-0 year. We're talking about robots who have made the past top 8, top 16, playoffs in general before, with Shatter, Blip, and Fusion. Teams which all, funny enough, are teams which have second robots. That's a funny coincidence. Also goes on with Starchild. And teams that are just no joke. In fact, Starchild, probably their easiest step on their schedule. It's going to be an easy 4-0 for Huge, I would have to say, and I hate to say it. Love me some Starchild. I talked about it earlier. Shoutouts to my sponsor, robotsruinmylife.com. Now we move on to Hydra, who I also want to give a shout out here. We've talked about the Destructathon a little bit in this live stream. Let's talk about it a little bit more here. They performed, they made the trip over to the Destructathon arena, the Battle Box. I believe it was earlier this week. They may still be doing it. Maybe fighting as we speak for all we know. And they fought Overkill of all robots. Talk about the photos that we've seen recently of Hydra and Overkill fighting. Imagine seeing that, Jesus, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, even 2 years ago. It is a surreal image to see. And even though Overkill is a 300-pound, 320-pound robot, Hydra's just been flicking it around like nothing, even threw it out of the arena in one match, the fastest Destructathon match, I believe, so far, from what I heard. So Hydra's still back to its dominant ways. I was thinking about counting those fights for TCC overall rankings, but in the end of the day, Overkill is what, like I said, a 300-plus pound robot. It would just be hard including Overkill into those heavyweight rankings alongside it, because when one goes in, you have to include the other. But I'm really digressing here. Talking about Hydra's schedule at 2-1, it just beat free shipping. It set the record for the most flips in a regular season Battlebots fight at 20. Or even reboot era Battlebots fight, I would say. My apologies. Maybe even Battlebots in general, because I can't imagine Toro having the capacity to flip here. But I'm digressing again. It takes on Sawblaze next in what is most definitely going to be the main event for episode 12 of the regular season, week 12. Sawblaze is going to be an awkward robot to flip. It's a bit gangly. We saw that issue during the Bronco fight going back to 2018. And Hydra is a much more well-oiled machine than old Bronco here, as much as I hate to say it. Oops, sorry, Blackbird. So I think Hydra would probably have that fight unless Jameson Go really busts it out. One thing Jameson Go didn't have in 2018 that he has now is his reliance on the big hammer saw vertical spinner weapon. I'm sorry, just straight up hammer saw weapon, not vertical spinner. Yeah, hammer saw weapon. Pretty much the go-to. All he uses in these past few seasons. It's not like Scorpius. Scorpius is all about modularity. Sawblaze all about just that straight pure hammer saw weapon. By the way, I saw Jameson Go in the chat. I don't know if you're still here. Shoutouts, hello. Awesome to see you. Glad that you popped in to see it. Hopefully audio is now fixed. It is cool that you're checking out the Combot Collective. Hopefully you're impressed with what we do here as we continue our discussions here. Hopefully you're cool with my review of Sawblaze here at the end half of the stream. When we get to it, finishing off talking about Sawblaze and Hydra here, I think I have to edge towards Hydra, but very much like Beta versus Black Dragon, this is a real coin flip decision here, and real intangible things like if Sawblaze or if Hydra gets caught in the arena floor at certain times, has an abrupt stop, that could decide a whole fight. If it gets caught by the saw blades, the kill saws on the floor, that could stop the whole fight. If we have an incident like Tombstone versus Sawblaze, where a pulverizer comes down a little too early or a little too late, that could change up a whole fight. We'll have to see how it goes here, but I gotta give the edge to Hydra as we move forward here. These will hopefully get a little bit quicker as we go along here. Talking about these fights as we run over repeat matchups, like I said at the top of the video. Ooh, I went up way too much. And we go here now to my pick to win this whole shebang. Still my pick, I will say that, even though I think Endgame will beat it. I think it will beat Claw Viper. It will be a close one, but I think Hypershock will be the one to solve the snake problem, like I mentioned. So 2-2 for me with Hypershock. Will Bales is a fantastic guy. Hypershock Kyle, a fantastic guy. I'm glad I know him online. Hypershock has been doing pretty good at Destructathon, at these matches with Witch Doctor. He's been in a lot of main events with Witch Doctor, putting on these vertical spinner fights, and they've been trading wins still. But Hypershock really being seen by a lot of people so far, and I love to see it. Still TCC #1 ranked until I do these new rankings, so relish it while you can. Hypershock guys, they are 1-1, 2-2 if they make the playoffs. Hopefully they can have a good run. But now we go to a robot that has pretty much already folded on the poker table. I hate to say it, and that's Jackpot. The robot really crashed and burned in both these fights. This remake, which is pretty much what the whole robot's built around, I would say, this new version, hasn't worked at all. It didn't help the robot get back up in the Scorpius fight. The team clearly, like I mentioned earlier in this stream, clearly didn't have enough confidence in the whole system to use it, period, during the rotator fight. They kept it upwards like this during the entire fight. But now it has to take on Ribbot and Captain Shredderator. Captain Shredderator, like we mentioned, maybe a chance to win there. I still have to give the edge to Jackpot. But what really gets interesting is the Ribbot matchup. if you don't want to get too spoilery, maybe mute this video for like 2 minutes. I don't know. But in that video, in that recently posted picture of Ribot versus Jackpot, Jackpot looks like Ribot looks like it's in some big trouble. And Ribot's had a pretty tough season this year as it is. So if it has another bad year here, if it has another bad match here, it's out of the season, out of the playoffs pretty much at 0-3, no matter what happens in that round 4 matchup against Sawblaze, is it? I can't remember off the top of my head. I know it's another very good, very game robot. But here against Jackpot, the pictures we've seen, apparently, we've heard it from fans. It's a very good fight. So at least Jackpot's going to have some return to form in this upcoming matchup. But how that's going to go in the final scheme, I don't know. But it looks like Ribot's missing 2 wheels here, so perhaps they have a chance. With all that factored in, they still can go 2-2, and I'm going to predict them to go 2-2. I'm going to give Jackpot the benefit of the doubt and say I think they will beat Ribot, and then Jeff Waters will get that hometown Vegas hero moment to take, at least one big win home as the Vegas team. I always talk about their big intangible of being able to go to their own bed, stay in their own home during these big Vegas events while other builders have to be in a hotel, spend so much time in the pits. But I guess he's spending a lot of time in the pits, especially after a frustrating year like this. A lot of configurations, a lot of big changes. It's a bummer. Jackpot, though. 2-2, my prediction. I don't know if it's enough to make the playoffs. If it is, it's going to be a very low seed. But now going to Lockjaw, going to Kraken here. We already talked about the Copperhead fight. That's probably going to be pretty brutal. Probably going to be a loss. Have to go with Copperhead there. And like I mentioned, Kraken. I keep saying Lockjaw, Jesus. Lockjaw's on deck, but not yet. It's all in the weapon now, not in the drive. While in the old version, it was all drive, no weapon. So with that factored in against a robot like Mammoth, I think Mammoth will stop Kraken from having an 0-4 season. But that could also be a match that Kraken could lose. I could very easily see Mammoth maybe hooking onto the spinning blade of Kraken and just yucking it forward like that, like we've seen it do to some smaller robots in the past. This Kraken, a bit more compact than the 2.0 version, I think. Might be incorrect on that. But also doesn't seem like it takes much to take out Kraken's drive. In fact, Kraken just straight up started its last fight with one half of its drive. And you can't really have that when you're trying to win a Giant Nut Championship. So they're at 0-2 right now, and they're going to need to beat both Copperhead and Mammoth. And they're just not going to beat Copperhead. I'm going to say that they will beat Mammoth just because I think that Mammoth, also a robot which has very fragile drive, Copperhead will be able to take advantage of. Land some big strikes to the side of the robot, front of the robot. As long as they keep themselves on their wheels, they probably can win the decision. Hopefully they haven't taken too much damage to hinder that in the Copperhead matchup, but only time will tell. Let's see where we're at here. Good God. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. No, it's not that bad. It's like halfway there. Lockjaw. Well, let's move forward here. Yes, Lockjaw. Yeah. Let me take a drink, actually. Lockjaw's another robot, which is already we've already seen the round 3 for. They have Mad Catter up next. That's going to be a good one. It'll probably be the episode opener on April the 6th when we finally get to see Lockjaw again here. We got to wait a month for more Lockjaw. That's something that sucks. Donald Hudson, though, at 2-1 right now with his big green machine, taking on Mad Catter. It's going to be a good fight. 2 large personalities with Hudson and Martin Mason. But you want to talk about how robots have been in terms of reliability this year, overall consistency. I mean, both these robots have had some tough knockouts in Riptide and Sawblaze, respectively. But their wins were also very good. Mad Catter got probably the biggest win of its career so far against Whiplash. That was a very impressive win. And Lockjaw broke its massive longest skid I think it's ever had in his career for Donald Hudson. A 4-fight losing skid with Lockjaw against Malice. So big wins, but also some big losses here. going into that fight, I think I'd have to give it to Malice just because of reliability. You don't see Malice, I'm sorry, not Malice, Jesus. Mad Catter. You don't see Mad Catter go up in smoke the same way you see Lockjaw do almost every single fight. I mean, just look at the most recent fight against Glitch, where it one-shot Glitch and still shot out a shit ton of smoke, a lot of fire. That's no good. So yeah, with a season like that, I'm gonna predict a 2-2 Lockjaw. Maybe it'll be enough to make the season. One robot that probably will make the playoffs, given the year it's had so far, is Lucky. Matt Olson and Mark Demers, they're all business with their little headsets out there. I absolutely love it. Like I mentioned in the recent video, this new contender era of Lucky, I'm so happy to see it. It's another competent flipper. It doesn't throw you up in the air violently, but throws you forward, makes you pirouette, spiral forward, does some damage. Just ask Kraken. Kraken, victim of numerous Lucky flips. I want to say, what, 12 or 13? I said in my recent video, it was a lot. Very brutal. And they take on Shredded Bro next. Shredded Bro, we've seen it once, has some drive issues, has some weapon issues. A lot of gremlins in this robot, and we'll get to it a bit later. In fact, we'll talk about Ominous decently soon here. That Shredded Bro matchup, Lucky should be able to make big-time pancakes with a robot like Shredded Bro. I think that's going to be a victory by judge's decision, but that matchup against Cobalt, we mentioned it earlier, Cobalt's probably going to make mincemeat out of Lucky. I hate to say it. Thankfully, Lucky, Mark Demers has burned a ton of chassis for Lucky to use in the playoffs, assuming that they do make the playoffs, and I think they will at 3-1. But this is going to be big-time shades of Sub-Zero versus Cobalt, I think. It's going to be brutal. It's going to be violent. Cobalt's going to win my knockout there. Maybe some crazy driving by Matt Olson can make Lucky 4-0. Don't count it out yet. And I think if that happens, imagine Lucky being a 2022 top 10 seed. I'd love saying that. Only time will tell, though. Let's keep the train going with Mad Catter, who we just talked about beating Lockjaw in the 4th round. We talked about him being Big Dill in the 3rd round. You got to think that Martin Mason's going to still go 4-0, especially with Calvin Eva, the fantastic driver he is. You know, it's going to be pretty academic for Mad Catter, I think. Even with it, because definitely Lockjaw and Big Dill, contenders, of course. Not contenders, not for Big Dill's case, I hate to say it, but decent robots, vertical spinners, but it's reliability. A lot of reliability in this, and as you were saying, Colin, got some chat people here. Hell yeah, that's awesome. Colin Ward, glad you're here. It does come down to the ground game, and I think the pontoons on Mad Catter can probably outplay the wedges on Lockjaw. The chambered wheels on Lockjaw also give Mad Catter an easier target that Lockjaw isn't able to exploit similarly on Mad Catter. While we're still on the topic of Mad Catter here. So yeah, with that, 3-1 for me with Mad Catter. Maybe 16th seed always finds a way to be like the 15th to 18th seed right in the middle of the field there. And maybe they can finally get out of the round 32 this year. You know, they've always had some very game opponents in the round 32, and it's been some excellent matchups, you know, going to Tombstone 2020. 2021, it was, of course, sorry, brain fart there. Black Dragon, and what was probably the best round 32 fight of the entire playoff. You know, we'll have to see how it goes. Losing my brain energy here as we now move forward. I do apologize. We got Malice, who, like I said, weapons reliable now on Destructathon, but we don't know if that's going to factor in for the rest of the season. They have Valkyrie next. In fact, that episode is going to be the episode that is next week. Very excited for that. Another battle of horizontal spinners. We're getting a lot of horizontal spinner battles this year, kind of deciding the pecking order of how all these big-time spinners are doing against each other. And they're getting some wins against each other, too. And that's kind of what they need in this now shelf-ridden arena. I hate to say it. The shelf just does so much to these poor horizontal spinners. But Malice versus Valkyrie. Malice's forks are probably going to be a deciding factor in a matchup like that. I think Valkyrie's weapon might be the more reliable. In fact, I know it's the more reliable, but Valkyrie's drive has not been the best this year. So we saw it in the Banshee fights. Really wasn't working too hot. But as long as Valkyrie doesn't get flipped over, I think he'll be fine. We'll still have to lean towards Malice with that one. But that's another big coin flip one. With big horizontal spinners that just throw themselves at each other and get knocked flying. You never know what the heck's really going to happen in a situation like that. But with Gruff, like I mentioned earlier, I think Malice is going to get worn out by Gruff. Maybe not by Valkyrie, but definitely by a tank like Gruff, who is designed for big-time horizontal spinners. I mean, if Gruff can survive a robot like Tombstone, it's going to survive a robot like Malice, who has a nice big frame with plenty of big holes there that Gruff can shove that big-time fork into, lift it up, and drive Malice all over the arena, do some damage with it, probably secure itself a spot in the playoffs. But Malice, meanwhile, it's a beloved robot. I love Bunny Soriol. It's awesome to see they're doing good in Destructathon, but I think they're going to miss the playoffs again this year. I hate to say it. What we got here? Ooh, still quite a few. All right. Hopefully we can wrap this stream up within the next hour. Knock out all these bad boys. Let's see what happens here. What do we got right here? We got Mammoth coming up now. We've already kind of touched on Mammoth a little bit. I love Ricky Willems. Probably my favorite NHRL commentator. I do love Luke Stengel. Friend of TCC, of course. He's appeared on After the Havoc. Everyone loves his, oh no! But Ricky Willems has always got some great jokes. And he's got great taste in shirts. You know, he rocks the fancy shirts with his old stories about being a DJ for old people. I love him. But unfortunately, Ricky Willems, I hate to say it, but with Death Roll and Kraken, two vicious vertical spinners on deck, assuming that Kraken, outside of the possibility, I should say, that Kraken has issues in round 4, and it certainly might, I think Mammoth is in a bad spot to make the playoffs. You know, maybe at 2-2, but then in a matchup where Kraken kind of eliminates itself instead of Mammoth eliminating Kraken, probably still won't be a playoff robot. It's hard for it to find a way in. The win against Starchild was impressive enough, I guess. It had that one big moment where it lifted up Starchild, kind of held it like a chokehold, full Nelson kind of thing. But the loss against Valkyrie was a bit embarrassing. The weapon collapsed on itself. Death Roll's going to make mincemeat out of Mammoth. It's going to be like a prehistoric nightmare. The Kraken fight, though, we'll see how well Mammoth does in the water. But I'm leaning towards Kraken in that fight. I don't think Mammoth's going to make the playoffs. Minotaur, though. We'll say Minotaur for the end. We'll say Minotaur for the end when we get to Witch Doctor, because I want to talk about that Witch Doctor versus Minotaur fight last. There's a reason why it is the very last thing I have on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. It's a big-time fight. It's likely going to decide the first seed of the playoffs, given how the pecking order's been set up right now. But now let's go over to the jolly old UK, talk about Monsoon here, who has a very, very tough schedule. Two vicious vertical spinners in Whiplash and Death Roll. Vertical spinners with very different concepts, of course. Whiplash. The first time talking about Whiplash this stream. Take a sip of this real quick. You know, our first time talking about Whiplash in this stream. They are finally back to their old classic ways. We saw no spinner on Whiplash last year. People didn't like it. I was bummed, even though I got it. I understood. The spinner's back this year, but it hasn't been too hot. In fact, it just hasn't been a hot year in general for Whiplash. 0-2 right now in the regular season. Really haven't made too many waves in Destructathon. Of course, we don't have too much info on the robot, but we do know it's taken a couple beatings by the hands of Diablo, which is unfortunate to see. But Diablo getting some big moments there against a former finalist, and that's, yeah, it's true. 2020 runner-up Whiplash now sitting at 0-2. You hate to see it if you're a Fast Electric Robotics fan. They have the defending champion Tantrum in their round 4. But we're not talking about that just yet. I'm getting off base here again. Monsoon, that's what we're talking about. Can Whiplash beat Monsoon? I think they can. I think that Monsoon's probably going to take a loss there. And then it's all going to come down to that Death Roll fight. If Monsoon can beat a robot like Death Roll, after a very convincing, very impressive win against Horizon, you know, knocking him out at 51 seconds, barely letting Horizon even move out of its square, if they did it all, I think they can sneak in at 2-2. Super low seed, but I think they can sneak in. And like I mentioned with the Death Roll fight, comes down to the wedge game that Monsoon chooses to use. We'll see how it goes. Keeping in Europe, though, now let's talk about Ominous. One of the two last remaining robots to not have done their round 2 fight yet. We're obviously going to see it in episode 10. We're not even going to see it during next week's episode. We got to wait till episode 10 for this final round 2 fight. I wonder if there was something wrong with Shredded Bro or Ominous. Given that Shredded Bro was apparently an alternate, I would lean towards them, but I guess we'll just have to see. Ominous versus Shredded Bro should be an easy win for Ominous if Shredded Bro is having these kind of problems, assuming that's the issue, like I said. But moving forward to Switchback and Shatter, that's where things get interesting. Switchback versus Ominous is a mid-card coin flip for me. Obviously, Ominous is going to be entering this fight, not with the hype and buzz of a TCC, number 15 ranked robot like it did for the Claw Viper fight. Claw Viper kind of humbled it a little bit, but we also now know that Claw Viper is utterly insane. So maybe Ominous has a shot against a robot like Switchback. Ominous is probably more reliable. You know, Switchback clearly issues with the vertical spinner, issues with the lifting arm, issues staying alive in some of these fights, unfortunately. Maybe that's number one, like Colin brought up here a little while ago. Come down to the wedge game. We know Ominous does have that little front wedge setup up front. You would have to imagine in a fight like this, Switchback would run the wedgelets. But Ominous is just so well driven. The Team Kodox behind them. They have time behind the robot. Plenty of time practicing, of course. The robot has been built since 2020. They fought with the robot in the UK at Extreme Robots last year. Picked up a few wins. Definitely a robot to watch out for. But as it goes on against, we predict here, 2-1 against Shatter. Shatter needs some wins. And we'll get more about Shatter later. Of course, I had that great fight against Beta a couple days ago. But Ominous versus Shatter, man, I don't know. This is a battle of the Omni-driven robots, and they're going to talk all about it during this fight, I'm sure of it. Who's better with the Omni drive? Well, these guys are pretty damn good at it. It's going to look like some choreography out there, like a fine waltz. You know what I mean? But Ominous, not the most protected up top. They have that Shreem mech that is criminally slow. That's something they got to fix next year. I think Shatter's going to take big time advantage of that. And even if it's not a judge's decision, even if it's not a KO, and I think it might be a KO because you also have the wheels, those Omni wheels on Ominous exposed, and they can just go to town, those wheels, and they break pretty easily. And on top of that, the Shreem mech, the vertical spinner, there's a lot of juicy stuff that's probably fairly hard to armor like most robots can up top for Ominous's sake here. So I'll say 2-2 on a knockout, maybe a judge's decision. Ominous may not make the playoffs this year. I hope they keep him for next year because the Netherlands people, they always do solid. I felt like Reality deserved another shake at a Giant Nut run. I don't know if the team just didn't apply or what happened. But, and then with Ominous, just give him more time in the arena. I want to see this robot fight more. I want to see it in the Golden Bolt tournament. That's for damn sure. Oh, man. Getting back to the UK, and then we got another. Go back to the US, then we got another UK robot here. Oh, man. Overhaul. Now, here's a robot everyone kind of wrote off, but now with this renaissance of control bots we've been seeing this year with machines like, Chris Rose mentioned, Quantum and Claw Viper doing so good this year. Actually, that was Kenny, my bad. Maybe there's still room for Overhaul to make a spot in the playoffs. Will that spot be done during the Cobalt fight? Oh, absolutely not. Cobalt's going to absolutely annihilate Overhaul. Wheels are going to go flying. Maybe a Crusher will get ripped off, Nightmare style. It's going to be kind of brutal. Going to be kind of vicious. We're going to have to wait a little while for it, but it's going to be a quality humdinger of the fight. I just don't think there's anywhere Cobalt could grab a robot like Overhaul. I don't think there's anywhere Overhaul could grab a robot like Cobalt. I'm sorry. The fatigue's getting to me here a little bit. So that's going to be pretty brutal. But that Shredded Bro matchup, like I mentioned with Lucky, I'd love to be wrong, and I'd love to see Shredded Bro really bounce back in the second half of the season here whenever it finally does start fighting again. It looked really tough in that matchup against Horizon. Didn't do too well. We'll get to that later. But Overhaul, just like Lucky, if Shredded Bro was looking how it did in the Lucky fight, in the Horizon fight, then Overhaul has essentially a perfectly cubic brick-shaped grabbing dummy to take all over the arena, bring it to the screws, bring it to the upper deck, bring it to the pulverizers, put it on the kill saws. 3 minutes of that. Charles Guan's definitely going to take advantage of that, and if that's impressive enough, maybe Overhaul can still make it into the playoffs with some impressive control, because it looked really good in the Star Child fight. Even in defeat, 3 fights in, it provided Claw Viper a bigger challenge than the other 2 robots ever did, which is crazy to say, but them being high-level vertical spinners. Maybe there's still a shot for Overhaul at 2-2. Certainly never thought I'd say that at first. I had Overhaul being 0-4 when I did my start of the season predictions. But hey, Overhaul's looking a lot better this year. And you know what? Good for them. They are an original team, and they deserve it. As we now move from a clamper to a proper crusher, Quantum, who I have some choice opinions for. I already talked about him earlier in the stream, and you'll hear him in the video later this week. We already talked about that emulsifier fight. Probably a victory for Quantum. We'll probably be watching this robot go 4-0. Top 10 seed in the playoffs, and good for the Cooper brothers. I remember seeing them in 2019, I believe on the UNA forums, or it was 2021. One of them, Jameson talking, no, it's not Jameson, I'm sorry. One of the Cooper brothers talking about how they really weren't sure about them bringing back Quantum because they didn't think it was competitive anymore, and there was no reason bringing a robot that wasn't going to have a genuine shot at the giant nut to the arena, especially overseas, because Robo Challenge, just like, you know, Team Waiachi, Mutant Robots, some of these other international teams, Rio Bots, RDC, these guys are here to win. These guys are here to get the championship paycheck, get the stipends, and represent the sponsors and make this sport a sport. And I love these kinds of people. They're so serious, and they show up with such a beautiful machine, and I'm glad they kind of proved themselves wrong. This robot can still be competitive, and they're going to have a crazy playoff. I can't wait to see what that round 1 matchup is going to be, and they're probably going to do pretty good here against the Emulsifier. As we move right along to a robot that we might not be seeing in the playoffs in Ribot, we already touched on this whole Jackpot thing, so without talking about all those spoilers again, I will say I think Jackpot will beat Ribot. I think Jackpot needs a win like that too, so that'll be good. But against Scorpius, I said Sawblaze. I meant Scorpius. It's potato with those two. You know how it goes. While we do know what Scorpius' attachment will be for the Sawblaze fight, something we'll talk about later, of course. We don't know what they're going to use for Ribot. I would have to imagine the hammer saw. You're going to have to honestly, you know what? They should use the cutting saw against Ribot, because Ribot is a brick. I don't know if it's a billet brick, but it's certainly a brick. Outside of that goofy frog head up top, it's impossible to really do some damage to Ribot. I mean, we've seen it get knocked out before, of course. We've seen it get knocked out earlier this year against Witch Doctor, but it's certainly not easy. I would use the cutting saw on this version of Ribot. You know, leave some gashes in there, throw around some sparks, take control of Ribot, who hasn't been the best driven as it usually is this year, but and again, so hasn't Scorpius. Scorpius has also been noticeably lesser quality driven, I would say. And that's really been a big factor for them. I brought it up in a recent video, as I'm starting to lose my voice here a little bit. With that, though, I think Ribot will probably finally pick up a win here, given how uncharacteristically weird Zach Lytle has been driving. I think it would have a chance. You know, land a couple solid strikes. At the very least, take it to the judge's decision, because I don't think anyone's been able to take off those wheels of Scorpius yet. Part of me feels like that's a rematch, Ribot versus Scorpius, but is it? No, I don't think it is. I think I'm thinking of Sawblaze versus Ribot. I don't know. But there we go. Yeah, I would have to say 1-3 for Ribot, but that wouldn't be enough to make the playoffs. But they still can make the playoffs for sure. They have high caliber opponents, and if they can knock out both convincingly at 2-2, oh yeah, easy mid-20 seed for sure. But now we go from Ribot to another sponsor, another beloved sponsor in Ripperoni, and we're gonna try keeping things brisk here with a lot of these fights, because we've talked about a lot of them here. I need to eat something, to be quite honest. Jesus Murphy. Ripperoni, the sponsor. Speaking of eating something, pizza. Here we go. The Omega team, they made me proud with this robot. All things worked. The secret sauce, the internal flywheel, they worked for Endgame. It was utterly fantastic to see. It was an awesome upset. And that momentum should carry right through hijinks. I think it's going to be a knockout. Frederick Moore versus Orion Beach, 2 amazing drivers with crazy weapons. That's going to be an awesome fight, but I got to go with Ripperoni. And then you got the Copperhead fight. Copperhead has just been so good this year. It's a 4-0 season for them. I already said earlier this year, maybe Ripperoni can make this a pretty good fight. Maybe they can make it a pizza pasta good. Mamma mia, but we'll just have to see how long this lasagna can last. I think Ripperoni is in for a good season. I think they will make the playoffs at 2-2 off the merit of that endgame victory. I mentioned that in the prior video. But now, let's move forward to Riptide here. Oop, sorry, Bella. I got a dog under my table. I just bumped into her. What are you doing, boss? Oh, boy. All right, let's roll here. We got some viewers now for the moment. That's what's up. We talk about Riptide. Like we just mentioned, 2 fights that we already discussed here. We'd love to see Shredderator pull off this victory, but let's be real here. Top 5 level ranks robot versus a robot that some people might even have in their bottom 5, as much as I hate to say it with Shredderator. It's going to be bad. Riptide versus Shredderator. Maybe we'll see a deshelling here. And then Black Dragon versus Riptide. Will Black Dragon keep the knockout free streak alive and tie Bite Force's record, make it into the playoffs, and try to break that record? It all depends on this one here. Riptide can certainly knock out Black Dragon. They've knocked out a lot of robots that aren't supposed to be knocked out. I mean, shit, they knocked out Duck. Who knocks out Duck? Apparently Riptide. So outside of some perfect driving, I definitely think Urier's driver, their head driver, whose name has escaped me right now, I'm so sorry. I think they can outdrive Ethan Kurtz and Riptide, but you have to play a perfect fight with a robot like Black Dragon, because Black Dragon doesn't have a knockout potential weapon. It's more in the vein of Tantrum's weapon or Free Shipping's weapon, even more so than, you know, a big heavy hitter obliterator like Riptide. Lost my train of thought there for a second. So I'm still going to stand on my case. Riptide 4-0 as we go from Riptide to Rotator, another killer R with 2 fights with robots that we've already discussed. I do think that Fusion and Bloodsport are both going to get beat by Rotator here now that they have solved these receiver woes. It looked like old school Rotator, the Rotator that not really old school. I mean, Jesus Christ, we're not that old. You know, the most past year's Rotator, that's the best word for it. Past year's Rotator, heading into this fight, heading into these following. Take it from the top here. This is why I hate these live streams. I think it's looked like, you know, the Rotators from the past, heading into that jackpot fight, as opposed to what it looked like a shell of itself in the Hydra fight. That should carry over. Horizontal spinners are on deck, and I think Rotator is going to be durable enough to outlast both these other horizontal spinners who have had their gremlins so far this year in different areas. I don't think Rotator, of course, can reach Bloodsport's upper, you know, spot where Copperhead was able to take advantage of, but nonetheless, I still think that's going to be a fight where Rotator, at the very least, can win on a judge's decision. But for the Fusion fight, I still think this is going to be an absolutely electric fight. I hope it goes the distance. I hope there's some crazy lead changes. The fight goes back and forth. Only time will tell that one. But, Jameson, if you're still here, you're probably not. The stream has gone on forever now. You're 2-0, and you've had a damn good robot so far. You were my pick to win Battlebots in 2020. Fantastic yearing so far, like I said. Hypershock and Lockjaw, 2 very similar, 2 very powerful, 2 very colorful vertical spinners. Knocked out. We'll go ahead and call it a knockout. It was a double knockout judge's decision on Hypershock. They were stuck together, but it was probably going to be a knockout. Lockjaw, same thing there, but now we got this big-time Scorpius fight. And I wish Scorpius was the next one to talk about, just so we can go over what this is, but we'll just go ahead and say it now. Scorpius using the Overkill Blade for this matchup. That's right. We're finally getting the 2 Hammer Souls meeting at long last, and it's not going to be Hammer Saw versus Hammer Saw. We're not going to get the Beater versus Shattered Energy. It's going to be the Overkill Blade, and apparently they're going to try using it like a Mary Special. We'll explain it more here in a little bit, but it should be very fascinating to see in action. But because of that, I think Sawblade is going to win that fight. Probably on judge's decision. Scorpius, a very reliable robot, but judge's decision nonetheless. And then the Hydra fight, like we had talked about earlier. Sawblade is a very gangly robot, kind of a hard robot to flip. But Bronco did it pretty convincingly. And Hydra, like I said, as much as I hate to say it, a better robot than Bronco. More nimble. I don't know if it's as athletic. I don't know if it's as quick, but it's certainly more nimble. Lower profile. And I think it's going to be able to get under saw blades fairly easily, throw it around. I don't know how many flips, certainly not as many as the free shipping fights. That was insane. But who knows? Maybe saw blades will get sent out of the arena endgame style again. Hopefully not as quick. That would be a bummer. Well, let's move forward here. We're talking about Shatter, the recent 0-2 loss to Beta, and it's good to see that the team took it well. You know, it was really a fanboy moment for them. They got to see, you know, the childhood hero here for a lot of us in John Reed. We've all watched a little bit of KARA in our lives. Saw him in Robot Wars Series 2, Series 3 on the channel there. You know, 0-2, kind of rough. They've kind of digressed a little bit these past few years. They made it, what, top 16, top 8 in 2020. 2021, they had the 2-fight regular season, the infamous 2-fight regular season that went 2-0, only to lose the Riptide in the round 32. You barely remember the robot being in there. Oh, here we go. What's up, guys? We got Negan here. What's up, Negan? It's a hell of a name, buddy. But we are so glad you're here. Glad you're here hanging out with us here at the Combot Collective. Thank you to everybody hanging out here at the Combot Collective. And yeah, horizontal with wedgeless supremacy. I love it. Let's see here as we move through. What else do we have here? I kind of lost my mental spot like a jabroni. But yes, my apologies. Shatter. We're talking about Shatter here. 0-2. Like I said right now. Got torn apart by Huge. Got beaten to a pulp by Beta in a judge's decision. The matchup against Horizon. Did I somehow skip Horizon? I must have somehow skipped Horizon. I think Horizon's going to go 0-4. And we'll go ahead and talk about that right now. Horizon. It's disappointing. It's probably going to be ranked 50 out of 50, but it's an amazing robot, and I hope we see it again next year. Slightly improved. Maybe it can fill the void that Smee is leaving. Shatter, though, should have plenty of easy targets. Maybe it can pick the spinner modules one by one on a massive, slower robot like Horizon. That should be a bit of a return to form for Shatter, but if Shatter wants to make the playoffs, they got to beat Ominous, and I think they will. Like I mentioned, I don't think Ominous is going to be very well prepared for a robot like Shatter. Armor up top, I'll see where they can do it on this machine. So I'll have to go Shatter. And at 2-2, doesn't make the playoffs. Much like a bunch of these other robots like Gruff, it really depends on what the rest of the field looks like. How many 4-0s? How many 3-1s? How do these 2-2s look? We're going to have some of these 2-2s that probably should have been 3-1s like Cobalt. Like Fusion, maybe, if that ends up being the case. We'll have to see how it goes. Where does Shatter fit into that? With 2 losses where it really didn't do too hot. Only time will tell. We're going to keep rolling along, though. We got Shredder Bro. We already talked about this robot a lot. I really want to see the issues get fixed here. If we see Shredder Bro come in like we all want to see it come in for these next 3 fights, it could go 3-1. It could go 4-0. You know, knock out Ominous, win a fight against Lucky on just a decision, knock out Overhaul. But that's only if it performs like as well as Evan Arias wants it to perform, and we see, you know, some Copperhead or Minotaur level stuff, or at least Yeti level stuff with his robot. But do we really see that happening? I personally don't. I hate to say that because half of these guys have been on the Combot Collective, but at 1-0 right now, they got Ominous, Lucky, and Overhaul, and I think Ominous and Lucky can definitely beat these guys, assuming that both Ominous and Lucky are working at 100%, and I think they will be. Overhaul, bit of a coin flip, but I will stand by my stance of Overhaul being able to take advantage of a small brick-shaped robot like Shredder Bro, bully it around the arena. So I'll say 1-3 there for Shredder Bro. We've already talked about all these fights, so we'll keep it brisk. But I hate to say it. Hopefully we can see them bounce back. I want to see Shredder Bro in the playoffs. We've seen Pain Train make so many tries, so many runs for it. I want to see them get into the top 32 because they're working for it. They've really tried working for it, man. So here we go. Let's see here. Let's finally talk about Scorpius. Let's talk about this setup. So this was brought up in the Green Square Talks Battlebots podcast. Check those guys out if you haven't before. We're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel with this list here. And in that podcast, Pori Nog's on there, one of our TCC crew. You gotta check it out. Zach Lytle or Diana Carlson, I forgot which one, said that this configuration they're going to be using is an overkill blade, like I mentioned, and they're going to have it reversed because they want to mimic what the Mary Special did. They want to try to take out the arm, the saw blade, the belts, the chain, whatever it is on Saw Blaze's weapon, kind of in the same way Shatter did against Blacksmith in 2021 during that absolutely fantastic matchup. Will they be able to do it with a two-wheel drive robot, though? You don't really have that kind of leverage like Shatter did, so you make it questionable. It really depends on how much. I kind of worry about Scorpius wheeling with this setup, as silly as it sounds. Maybe I'm wrong, but it is a very, very, very big overkill blade. It should be able to reach the Saw Blaze weapon, the hammer saw, maybe without even having to strike Saw Blaze, even without Saw Blaze having to bring the weapon out itself. Maybe. We'll have to see how it goes, but Saw Blaze is just, it's a more consistently better robot. They are always in the top 16 or higher mix. And Scorpius, while still being, recognized as a legendary robot by BattleBots and all-star nonetheless, two-time all-star, bounty hunter defender, very popular robot, multiple main events. I don't see it winning this matchup, unfortunately. I hate to say it, but yeah, I definitely have to go with Saw Blaze on that one. But definitely check out their little YouTube vlog. I love the Scorpius builder vlogs. They provide so much info. They're such a contagiously happy couple. And we already talked about the Scorpius versus Ribot fight. So, yeah, I think that's going to be Ribot's only win. They need a win, too. So, with that, Scorpius 2-2, mostly due to the sporadic driving Zachary Lytle has had so far this year. I feel like I've noticed. Hasn't been the best driving. Maybe they can hone it in, I should say, a little bit for the second half of the season. I can certainly hope so. I mean, the guys almost lost a big deal. All respect the team food fight, of course. But now, finally, another Omega Team robot. Our third Robots to Ruin My Life sponsored robot we got here, or represented robot, I should say. My apologies. Gigabyte and Huge on deck for Starchild. I believe Starchild can beat Gigabyte. I don't think it's going to be an exciting fight. Hate to say it, but I don't know if this Huge fight's also going to be the biggest barn burner. I wish they gave this robot more compact opponents for it to strike, like a Shred-It Bro or a Death Roll or even a Hypershock. I don't really know what they expected Starchild to do with the field it got. Felt like it could have done a bit more with Overhaul, but Overhaul was very on point for that fight. This Gigabyte matchup against Starchild should be good, but we'll have to see how it... shouldn't be good, I should say. Brain's fried, I'm sorry. We'll have to see how it goes. Gigabyte with the struggles they had. Starchild should win that. But that Huge fight, everyone wants it to be good. Like I said, I don't know if it's going to be good. But with how Huge has been so far, with the red-hot run Jonathan Schultz has been in, with a pit crew better than he's ever had, I got to go with the big-wheeled boy, the original big-wheeled boy, Huge, in that situation. And that would put Starchild at 1-3. Not the best regular season debut for my boy Brian Zielinski, who has ditched P1 for this bold design. But maybe they can have some better run in the Golden Bolt tournament. I'm saying that for a lot of my favorites I think are going to miss the playoffs. I hate to, but that's just how it be. With the Golden Bolt tournament, not with the Golden Bolt tournament, with the weapon on Starchild, like I mentioned in a recent video, just doesn't have enough range. They need to find a way to counterweight a little bit better so they have at least another foot of range. I know it's tricky. I know it's a lot easier said than done doing something like that, but it's the only thing I can really think of that could help in that ordeal. Oh, zone out there. I'm so sorry. People are watching me just zone out, looking into space, looking at this chat, catching up with everything, making sure I've said it all, talked to everybody. Thank you all for showing up and chatting. Some familiar faces here. That's good to see. Obviously, a couple Roboteers in there as well. That's been awesome to see. But let's finish it up here. Zoned out there big time. I am so sorry. And go to Texas's own Switchback while we talk about some Texas faces in the crowd here. We already mentioned it a little bit, and we've talked about Switchback versus Ominous and Hijinks. I think Omnitz can probably beat Switchback, but I think Switchback can probably beat Hijinks. It's going to be a 2-2 robot. Probably not enough to make the playoffs unless we do some play-ins. But it's unfortunate. But I do think that this is a step in the right direction for Rev Robotics, Greg Needell, and the rest of his crew here. I couldn't get over how amazing Switchback looked in the CADs in build-up for this season. And seeing it, I mean, it's not, I haven't seen it in person, but seeing it on TV and seeing how compact it actually is, it really does wow you how this robot looks and how solid it is. And I want to see it do good. It's like a coal mine in Whiplash. It's a beautiful design. Maybe at 2-2 we can make the playoffs. It's another case like Gruff where it all depends on how these other 2-2s go. But we're saying that with a lot of these 2-2 robots. So in a situation like that, kind of makes you wonder what's going to go happen. You know, it's weird. But what else we have here? We got 5 more robots left, including our defending champion Tantrum right here with Whiplash. It is his final fight, and it's going to be his deciding fight to see if our defending champion is going to make it into the playoffs, because right now Tantrum is 1-2. Tantrum better be counting its lucky stars. This isn't the Discovery era. Otherwise, it might have not made the playoffs at 1-2. Might have, because of Hydra getting kind of a similar treatment in 2021. But I digress. Whiplash versus Tantrum coming up for it. And while we're at it, we've already talked about Whiplash and Monsoon. I think that it is a victory for Whiplash. Monsoon, while a big-time spinner, can land some strikes, not as well-rounded as a robot like Mad Catter. I think Whiplash can bounce back and win, you know, at least the Monsoon matchup. But in the situation of Tantrum, Whiplash really did get a tough schedule, and it is a tough robot. Matthew Vasquez, in my money, I've said it plenty of times on this channel before, best driver in the world, and yeah, Negan, I gotta agree with you. Poor Whiplash. I used to not be a big Whiplash guy, and a lot of people online know that, especially people in like Uda and King of Draft, TCC, Pori's community on Discord, or even on Reddit, you know. Not a big Whiplash guy, but I don't know. They really turned around to me. They're good people, and it kind of won me over. Look at this cool little toy holding the little Subway sandwich here. I really just didn't like that they were using the lifter as much as I would have liked to see them use it. And now we're seeing, or the spinner, I should say. They weren't using the spinner as much as I would have liked to see them use it, but we're seeing it now. And Matthew Vasquez also likes a lot of TCC stuff on Instagram, and that's also one way to win me over, of course. But yes, Tantrum versus Whiplash. This is pretty much going to be a do-or-die matchup, assuming both these robots are 1 and 2 entering this matchup. And that's going to be a good one, and I got to go with Tantrum. Somehow these robots have eluded each other in their presence so far after a bunch of deep runs with both of them now in both Golden Bolts and the regular season tournaments. But for me, I'm going to have to go with Tantrum, and they might even do it the same way they beat Witch Doctor and Hydra in the past, ripping up that underbelly, because there's certainly a little bit of opening to easily scoop under the sides of Whiplash, and Dylan Carey may be just as good of a driver as Matthew Vasquez. Maybe he'll overtake him over here in the next year or two, depending on his success compared to Matthew Vasquez. But we'll have to see how it goes. I do think that Tantrum's going to win that fight. Maybe it will be a judge's decision. Tantrum's weapon's got a little bit more pop than Whiplash's. I think the control factor is a little bit easier to get into than Whiplash's is. He has to get you up onto the wall. And there's not really easy spots for Whiplash to finesse with a compact robot compared to, you know, bigger robots like Valkyrie and Hydra, where Whiplash has had so much. It was very easy for Whiplash to take advantage of, you know. But that's where I sit with Whiplash and Tantrum. In fact, both of them. We got 2 birds stoned at once, and now we only got 4 more robots to talk about here as we wrap to the tail end of this TCC live stream. Thank you guys so much for watching this all, by the way. Oh, my throat is shut. I can't wait to just chillax after this. I guess I should take a minute here to talk about some NHRL and Motorama while I take a breather here. Never ended up really catching all the NHRL January event, which I hate to say because there were so many beautiful new designs like that Catwalker in the 3-pound class. One of the coolest new robots I've seen in a long time. But shouts to the winners of all of that event. I'm sure we're going to see all those new robots appear sporadically in different events. Kind of like Big Cookie did, appearing at both the January NHRL event and Motorama, as I am right now writing notes for Motorama 2023's event. Happened last week. About halfway through the notes right now, so I can start putting together the script. Hopefully, it will be out sometime early mid-March, in time for the next NHRL event, which we will be doing, and I'll announce it right here. The next TCC live stream will be amidst the Havoc. We'll do it amidst the Havoc before and after Motorama. After NHRL on March 18th. I don't know if we're going to have any guests in because we were having so many internet issues that really screwed up a lot of stuff. I hate to say it, but we'll have to see how it plays out. Maybe we will, maybe we won't. I was thinking about having some guests in to test the waters today, but I was just trying to play it safe auto. In terms of the Motorama event, though, shouts to all the teams that have won there. Some very impressive robots there as well, including Beam, the 30-pound featherweight champion. I really want to see Beam compete at NHRL. I feel like that's a robot where if it showed up there in Norwalk, competed in one of those 6 robot featherweight events where half the field qualifies for the finals, they would easily get into the finals, and they would probably, if I had to guess, for my money, win the annual championship this year if they were to take the initiative to do it. That's just my thought. 12-pound class, we had Minor Threat 5 do really good. It hasn't done so well in NHRL. Won the championship here. Maybe that's a good future for them. We also saw Mini Ripperoni compete at Motorama. That was fun to see. Looking a lot like it did versus Gruff. A lot of chaos there. But let's get into this home stretch here. We got 4 more robots to talk about. And we start off with our final 2 horizontal spinners to discuss here. And probably our final 2 robots, which we honestly feel fairly confident won't make the playoffs. Starting off here with Bradley Handstad's Triton. Of course, from Team Overboard. I guess you could also say Dustin Eswine's Triton. But Dustin Eswine, of course, taking care of 2 newborn twins. Shout-outs to him. That's always awesome. Glitch and Horizon up next. It's not undoable because Glitch, of course, has a lot of glitches, a bad history. But as I mentioned when we were talking about Glitch, I don't think Glitch is a good robot for a horizontal spinner to try to get good purchase on. Maybe a Glitch will shit itself and die. That's the only way I can see it losing to Triton, because eventually it's going to be able to strike Triton. And Triton, as we now see from the Cobra-Head fight, not the sturdiest of robots. I hate to say it because Bradley Handstad is a TCC watcher. He's commented on quite a few videos. Said, straight up told me before anybody else, if you want an interview, let me know. And that means a lot to me. So I really do appreciate that. But talking about his robot here, I think he'd lose the Glitch. But I think he would be Horizon. The 0-4, I'm predicting Horizon. That's another situation like where Shedder has, where if any fight's going to be a good big showcase for Triton to show what it can do, this is the fight right here. Rip off those little blades on Horizon. Maybe it can split the robot in half. We haven't had a good bot splitting this year like we have in seasons past. I'm hungry for one, and I think we can see that happen here. But with that, I think it's going to be a 1-3 year for Triton. As we now move on to Valkyrie with the new captain, Lucy Dew. We know Leanne Cushing is returning next year, and maybe we can get some calmness to the regime. But for now, against Malice and Glitch, which are 2 very, very problem-ridden robots. I brought this up in the recent TCC rundown video. With 2 robots that are very problem-ridden, there's still a chance for Valkyrie to get in as a 3-1 robot, make itself a playoff lock at 3-1. You can't argue a robot at 3-1 no matter how quality the wins are or not, because it's 3-1. That's a winning record, and there's only so many of them, so even at 3-1, it would probably be a pretty low seed, like a 26 to 32 seed. But still, playoffs is playoffs, and that would be a very good spot for Valkyrie to end up, given the flaky year it's had. But on the flip side, we could see Malice and Glitch have good second halves of their seasons. Malice, like I mentioned, looking pretty good right now outside of Battlebots' main competition. So maybe it can pull it off. Glitch, same thing there. If it can beat Triton, maybe it can beat Valkyrie. 2 horizontal spinners were exactly what Glitch needed. I mentioned that in the video earlier. So that's probably going to be a loss. I don't know. 2-2, Valkyrie good enough? I don't think so. But now we got one more fight to talk about. 2 more robots, Witch Doctor and Minotaur. We've already touched on the Gruff situation a little bit. I think Witch Doctor's going to win that one, but that's probably going to be an absolute banger of a fight. Witch Doctor versus Minotaur. So much drama. I made a video all about this fight that pleased so many people last year, talking about the rule book and BattleBots' inconsistency with keeping up with the rules. I know a lot of people saw it. Hopefully it at least, got to some people's heads, whether they liked it or not. Got some people talking, and that's cool. A lot of controversy with this fight, though. People have been wanting solace in this matchup, and we're getting it the same way we got Tantrum and Hydra #2. I bet we'll get the same sort of main event production. I mean, this is going to be the very last main event of the season. This is going to be the very last regular season fight of the season, more than likely. We're going to have the playoff seeds announced right after, and whoever wins this fight, Minotaur versus Witch Doctor, is probably going to be the #1 seed, assuming both are 3-0, and we're already halfway there. How's it going to go? Well, I think it's going to be Minotaur. I just called it Whiplash. I meant Witch Doctor. I think it's going to be Minotaur. They had the momentum early on in that fight before the unstick, and then things got a little bit crazy. I don't think we're going to see Minotaur lose another wheel. You don't think Riobots learned from that mistake? Witch Doctor, of course, had a great year last year, back-to-back runner-ups, as painful as that is to say. They did incredibly good. One of the best overall robots performing right now. But Minotaur's on the hottest streak it's been on in quite some time. It had that crazy, crazy comeback against Cobalt. Made a big-time impact there. And then as we scroll back up here and look at Minotaur's schedule, do a little bit of that, I mean, free shipping and Tantrum. 2 other robots which have been, big hot topics. Tantrum, literally the defending champion. Free shipping. The spawn of Original Sin. Brand new vertical spinner attachment, which entering that Minotaur fight had a little bit of buzz behind it. I got to go with Minotaur there. I think Minotaur is going to be the #1 seed for the playoffs this year. I think Witch Doctor at 3-1 is still going to be up there. Maybe 5 through 10. Maybe even in the top 5. But it won't be in the top 4, I would have to say, with 1 loss under its belt. Because we just have so many good robots which are looking to be undefeated this year. From like Quantum to Huge to whoever wins this to, just some crazy names. Sawblaze maybe. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to, crack into the top 4. And I'm very intrigued to see who makes the top 4. But it is 9:26. This is about the time I said I wanted to wrap this stream up. And we've talked about everything here. We've talked about all 50 robots, and I'm glad we did it. The crossbow looks great. So what happened was I was kind of embarrassed. Didn't want to say it up front. This piece was This piece I was doing all the work on was supposed to be this piece, and it just kind of went kaput, and I realized I sucked at multitasking. I realized I was way behind schedule, and if I didn't do this, we might be talking until 11 p.m., and I would be dead tired. So I went ahead and expedited stuff. I sped it up a little bit, but I think it's going to wrap it up for us here. Thank you all for tuning into this live stream. It's a little bit more messy, literally and figuratively, than I thought it was going to be. But it was still a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys coming in. I don't know if I'm going to assemble this off camera. Maybe I'll save it for another live stream. I mean, all the pieces are still here. It's all intact. I got the instructions. Maybe we'll have another hack at this again. I do want to do a top 32 prediction. Maybe do some top 32 pickups before episode 15 airs. Do like a last minute prediction episode talking about that. But there we go. Predictions for all of these fights coming up and how we think all 50 robots are going to do in the upcoming future. And yes, I am going to try to make a highlight version of this video, and hopefully that will be pretty good. A truncated version. Maybe I can somehow turn this now 2.5 hour nightmare into a 30-minute video, or at least under an hour. 45-minute video would be nice. That would be good. But I haven't ate since like 3 o'clock, so I'm going to go do that. I'm your host, as always, here at the Combot Collective, Sterling Brown, Sterling TXTG on Instagram. You can find me in other places. And for the Combot Collective, of course, we are on Instagram and Facebook. Those links will be in the description below. We try to make posts as often as we can there. We try to update the story daily, even though sometimes it doesn't happen. And, of course, we also have the Discord server. Link for that, it is a fresh invite link, also in the description below. And We have, you know, robot combat teams from the UK, like Team ULL with Deadbot. We have teams from the US, like, you know, Omega Team with Starchild, Blackbird, Ripperoni, Tony D'Ambrosio. He's such a key part of our TCC community. Shouts to him a million times over. And of course, right here on YouTube, where you've been watching this live stream, whether you're watching it now in the future on the highlight video, however you're watching it, seeing a bit of it on Instagram, I don't know. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment on this video after the fact. Apparently, four words is the algorithm. I don't know. Whatever the algorithm is. I wish the algorithm would throw me a bone, but that's just the way the game goes, right? Whatever. I am Sterling Brown, and I had a lot of fun here with you guys. This was crazy, chaotic, and you know what? I'm still gonna. I promise you, I'm gonna take this screen out. I'm gonna take the camera out with this little pen bullet. Might not be with a cool archery thing, but I'm gonna do it anyway. So ready? I missed. Did it land in something? It sounded like it landed in something. I don't know. All right, ready? I got one more bullet. No, I don't. I don't have another bullet. I tried. But I'm going to get out of here, guys. I love you all. Thank you for watching this live stream. Hopefully we'll do more TCC Live in the future. Stay tuned for more videos. Like I said, rundown video coming later this week. We're also going to be doing our final Robo Games update before Robo Games in April. We're going to be live for that as well. What else do we have happening here? We have a, oh yeah, Motorama. We just talked about that. Motorama video is going to happen as well. Watch out for that. Love you guys. Follow us on all the social medias. Subscribe. Do everything. And I will see you guys again. You guys have a great night.